Hello, Scouty Paws. Hello, everyone else who's hopping in. Hope you're all good. Just faffing around with some shit. Just about to hit 48k subs on on YouTube. But yeah, hello everyone. Give me 1 second. I'm just fiddling with stuff. Give me a second. Oh, bloody hell. That should play like a GIF, but for some reason it doesn't, and I don't know why. Good morning. Hello. Hello all. I hope you're having nice days. Hello, people who are here regularly. Hello to the people who hated on me. Hello to the people who loved me. Good morning. Hello, Hot Ham. Hello, Mini Finny. Hello, Cat Cat. I hope you're all good. It's certainly a nice day. How many times have you debated that opinionated girl? I don't know. Maybe 3 times? How am I doing? I'm fine, thank you. What's good, K-Money? Not much. Good time zone to you. Yes, good time zone to you. Goat, hi. Hello. Have you joined iPro's... What? What's iPro's server? Congrats to Close on 48k subs. Thank you. We're very close. How are you? I'm good. Hello, Alexandra Fernandez. True on all 3 accounts. Yes. I just want to thank you for speaking up. 1, too early to say. 2, no. 3, no. Brilliant. Thank you for letting me know that you think no, that it's too early to say whether Trump has lost the Iran war. It's a big pro-Palestine library. Oh, no, I've not heard of that. Maybe you should send me over something about it. I'm sure that's great. That girl was horrible. TPUSA really has nothing after Charlie lol. Yeah, the fact they employ that opinionated girl is a crazy thought. Going from Charlie, the one who we're all carrying the flame for, to that opinionated girl is so sad. British Dean. I wouldn't say I'm much like Dean Withers, but thank you. Yeah. The Cuns. It is indeed me. I got loads and loads of water today. Of course it's too early to say the war is lost. Right. Okay, thank you. You can come up and explain it. Opinionated girl, top 3 unlikable people on this app. Yeah, it's hard to really think of someone more unlikable. If anything, if I was the Israeli government, instead of involving myself in any way, or an organization like Kufi, instead of involving myself with that lady, I would, I would ban her from talking about Israel. How can you officially lose a war that isn't over yet? Well, I mean, if you're losing a war disastrously, I think it's pretty evident what I'm talking about. Okay, do you want me to change it to the Iran war was a disaster? The firing is still going on. Yeah, and it doesn't look like Trump has any way of achieving his strategic aims at all. It has been an absolute disaster. When you start your war with the goal of overthrowing the Islamic Republic and you think it's going to take a couple of weeks and you end up with this current situation, I think saying lost the war is fine. She just spews Nick Mattel talking points. Yeah. Tank Talk stream. Let's go. Ugh. I mean, they killed Khamenei on the first day, and they didn't achieve any of the aims. They literally, their plan was to overthrow the Islamic Republic, by the way. You can't change that. The assets haven't even moved in. The assets haven't stopped moving in. Yeah, I'm aware the assets haven't stopped moving in, but you do realize, what are those assets going to do? What can you do? Bomb Iran's energy infrastructure? Then the Gulf states get their energy infrastructure bombed? What do you think happens after that? But I don't like debating with people in the comment section. You either come up or you not. Is that a soccer tattoo? What do you think is a soccer tattoo? Is that a halter top? I don't even really know what a halter top is. But yeah, I try my best. You got a license for those. It must be heating up. It is very hot in the UK today, okay? So I'm allowed to wear a vest. It's my excuse. Bashar al-Assad. In before you get called anti-Semitic. Thank you. All right. Your YouTube channel sounds like straight up buzzword. TikTok debates, Iran updates, learning about the Western Sahara, and more. Thank you. It's crazy. The tattoo on the left side of your chest, as in my left or my right, because it's obviously inverted for you. This side or this side, because neither of them are soccer tattoos. I don't have a football tattoo. I don't even use the term soccer, so how dare you? But no, there isn't. I don't have any football tattoos. No, it's not someone kicking a football in either of them. W Chris, thank you. Chris, it seems it seems Chris has a Platner-esque Nazi tattoo on his chest. Yeah. Are you a Chelsea fan? Yes. Yeah, not like a mega fan. Now there's lol. Now there's gay British guy talking about US politics. I mean, I'm pretty sure there are already plenty of gay British guys talking about US politics. Owen Jones would be an example. Please debate. Matt Nuclear isn't actually possible to debate. You can't debate Matt Nuclear in a forum like this. He won't be quiet for like a second. He just screams and shouts and then tries to fuck Grok. I mean, I'm sure many of you know Matt Nuclear was caught having creepy chats with Grok. And also being employed by the way, why Ben Shapiro spent $8,000 per month on Matt Nuclear to get 500 views on YouTube is mental to me. Gunsler is working out. I did train today. I trained chest. What's the Grok law? Oh, Matt Nuclear was caught having conversations with... He was caught having long conversations with Grok. How do you know it was 8K? It's 8K, it's not 5K. Because his contract got leaked. Ben Shapiro pays that guy $8,000 per month. You ever want to know why there are so many more right-wing grifters in this world? Is literally that. They get paid insane money to do their nonsense. He wasn't actually sexting in any capacity. I just want to be careful because I'm always getting better. Okay, right. Is there anyone requesting to debate that hasn't been up here recently? CTCN, are you trying to debate or what? The Iran war is going pretty well despite some big setbacks. If you think the Iran war is going well, I would love to hear your explanation as to how. Can't anymore. Well, why can't you anymore? Well, what's changed in the last 30 seconds? Flushing money down the toilet would be more productive. Yeah? Is anyone trying to join, right? Iran conflict. Breakfast. Okay. Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. What's up?
What's up? So, I mean, I agree with 2 and 3, of course, but... As much as I don't support the war in Iran, I feel like, I mean, you could definitely change my mind probably, but I think from like a military standpoint, we definitely kind of obliterated a bunch of them, because I'd say like, I think I read somewhere like 85% of their naval capabilities were destroyed. Pretty big deal. And I know they got a bunch of ballistic missiles and stuff, and cruise missiles and drones and stuff hidden away in tunnels, but...
So, I mean, the thing is okay, Iran's major military power basically revolves... Clearly, like, what's a navy going to do against the US military? I mean, they do clearly still retain parts of their navy, which are the small boats, which are the most important thing, because you just sail out and place some mines or go out and harass ships where you can. Okay, but the main thing is just drones and missiles. Like, with drones and missiles, Iran can carry out the most important thing, which is maintaining control over the Straits of Hormuz. Trump has switched his war aims, which on the first day were overthrow the Islamic Republic. By the way, Lindsey Graham was caught talking about this in a documentary. He was just talking about this. He was like, yeah, the Islamic Republic's going to fall really quickly. And obviously it hasn't, and they're not going to achieve that aim. So I think that they've categorically failed at that. But I also think from the position that Iran was in when they had the massive protests and the economic crisis and a populace that really was kind of done with them, you kind of look at it now and it's like, damn, they've gained quite a lot. They've managed to stand up to the Americans. They've managed to win quite a large propaganda victory. So I don't really see how in any way Trump has like won from his aims at the start.
Well, I'd say some victories would be their nuclear capability, of course. I mean, it's pretty controversial. Some people didn't believe in it, but I think that's pretty much gone. Their economy's in shambles, so, and all their military production capabilities are kind of wiped out, I'd say.
Well, that doesn't seem to
So,
be the case. I was reading somewhere a while ago, maybe CNN or something, that was saying that Iran has managed to reconstitute its drone program pretty much already. And the thing is it clearly has enough and retains enough of these things to continue fighting, because it is refusing to sign a surrender agreement, which is basically it is still able to negotiate and say, hey, we don't want to sign whatever you give us, and is maintaining what it wants, which is control over the Strait of Hormuz until it gets other demands met. Also, on the nuclear program, I actually do think that Mojtaba Khamenei is more likely to build a nuclear weapon than Ali Khamenei was, his father.
I mean, yeah, I think it's kind of stupid they kill one and get him replaced with another. So,
So I
yeah,
would
that
say,
is definitely a
that that's
fail.
kind of like a complete and utter failure, especially because if you look at it, if your war aim changes from, okay, we're going to replace the Islamic Republic with a government that we want there, that does what we say, you fail in that, and then your new aim becomes, okay, we're basically going to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, and you can't even do that. I don't really see how it isn't a failure, and I don't really see where Trump goes. I think that's why he keeps on backing out from his plans of bombing energy infrastructure, because he knows that the Gulf states will bear the brunt of it. And whilst it would damage Iran's economy, the damage to the global economy would be far larger if there was just a massive attack on all energy infrastructure in the Gulf, which would be the response of the Iranians.
You know what? I'm just gonna say you're right
Okay,
because honestly, I think you did a good job.
thank you.
So, I just want gas prices down because I live in the bumfuck middle of nowhere. Sorry if I can't cuss.
No, you can. I mean, obviously my position is a lot more like, gas prices, like thousands of Iranians have died, and I think that's more important, but it's very obvious that this is the dumbest war imaginable, that this is the dumbest thing, that Trump's decision to do this, okay, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, they support this, okay? They want foreign wars, they want regime change, they want to institute dictators who follow and dance their tune. That's what they want to do. Trump tried to do something that every other administration has rejected, not because they actually give a shit about people in Iran or the consequences for them, but because they worried about attacks on energy infrastructure. Trump did it, and he has no answer to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of stupid how many have died because I feel like they're desensitized because they don't got to go do it themselves. So
Well, thank you for coming up. Have a nice day.
Yep, thank you. You too.
Okay. Quadling says Zionism is colonialism. Okay, so what modern civilization isn't colonialism? Well, Israel would be a very specific form of colonialism. Is he wearing a bikini? Brilliant. It's a mankini, actually, so stop your commentary. Chris, you're wrong and you know it. I'm anti-Islamic genocide. Okay, well, instead of commenting, you can come up. Is anyone trying to debate in here? But no, I'm not wearing a bikini. I don't know what the desensitized thing meant. Echo. I think the goal of the Iran war is bad and the execution is bad. Yes, I agree with you. What's the echo? Is there an echo? Do you have any book recommendations? Do you have a post on it? Book recommendations about what? I have a resource list. I'm from Israel. Wow, that's nice. That's very cool. Very cool for you. Can you wear your tank top more often? No, only when it's hot. I love when people who lost their country to Islam speak about America. Can we talk about the genocide in Nigeria? I'm not really much of an expert on Nigeria, mate. Who is Israel a colony of? Well, you can come up and discuss this. Hey, Chris. Thank you, Andrew. Very nice. Stay mad. Cool. Can we talk about the genocide in Devon? Maybe. Greetings from Tel Aviv. Hello from the UK. Not really a fan of Israel. Not on YouTube, you're good. Guest was a bit louder than you, though. I have no idea how to fix this guest being louder than me thing. I don't know what on earth is causing it. Let me just check. Audio output, desktop audio, audio input capture, audio output capture. Maybe it's that. Wait, hold on. There we go. I might have fixed it. Hold on. Let me just mute one of these. How about now? Just so you know, every single country had colonized. Oh my god. Just finished Journey up to 270. Did you read it? Heading to Fahrenheit. I've never read it. It sounds really interesting. Just start yelling. I do like yelling. On TikTok, you hear me fine. Nothing to be said about the genocide in Ukraine. Thank you. Do you ever play PlayStation? No, not really anymore. I have a PlayStation. On TikTok, we hear you just fine. Thank you. Put a limiter on your guest. Mate, I can't really do that. If you could see what I'm up to, yeah. How do you feel being persecuted by the UK government as a white Brit? The Labour Party? Yep, obviously. Oh, I have seen that Saviour guy. I'm not really a fan of his content. I don't know what he's up to. I think he's a right-winger. A Brit shouldn't be talking about colonizations. Okay, you can either spam in the chat or you can come up. And that's your options. I'm going to stop reading it if it's just spam in the chat. Gas prices aren't Trump's fault. It's the oil companies' price gouging after the oil cost dropped. Okay. I have never spoken to Alex O'Connor. Are you prepubescent? Well, I don't know what that would. I don't know what those words mean. It takes one to know one. Let me ask you something. Why did you break up with History Revealed? Because it's sad. How about now? It was much quieter. After you said how about now, it was much quieter. Cool. Right, we'll see if I've fixed it. If it's too quiet, let me know, but I think we might have been able to fiddle with the guest volume a little bit. Are you trying to debate Massi Orfino or what? By the way, I do know what prepubescent means. Andy Burnham is going to send Chris to the gulag. Very sad. Oh. I disagree, but good to hear your opinions about it. Sure, just have a few questions. Well, the point is to debate, but okay. Hello?
Hi.
What's up?
Not much. You claim to be like kind of leftist, right?
Yeah.
So I've been seeing like in the news recently, like there was like 40,000 some odd migrants from Morocco that entered Spain like all at once. It was a very crazy thing to see. I I don't really have an opinion about it. It's not really, I'm not Spanish or Moroccan.
Okay.
But I see a lot of people in leftist spaces, especially like on Twitter and just nonsense. And then I saw Hassan Piker on stream claim that I don't know if it was serious or not, but he claims that it was most likely set up by the American government and the Israeli government. Do you have an opinion on that? Like, do you agree with that?
I watched, there was some guy on the BBC who was like someone from I don't know, he's from some university in America. He was on BBC. We were watching the video yesterday. He was saying similar things. Now, I don't think it was necessarily set up by the American and Israeli government, but I think the American and Israeli government are more than happy that that's happening. Both of them don't like Sanchez, and increasingly the US and Israel have interfered in European elections. They literally, go look into Israel's history of courting far-right parties in Europe. Of course, this kind of stuff and all of the imagery is a massive boon to them, and they specifically want to undermine Pedro Pedro Sanchez because he's someone who has refused to let America use military bases and has also, although his stance is not perfect, taken a stronger stance on Palestine-related stuff. Now, Morocco has actually done this before. Back in 2021, they allowed 8,000 migrants to enter Thueta, I think it's pronounced, to enter Thueta. They allowed them to enter it, but that was in response to another fraying of ties with Spain over the Polisario front and the Western Sahara. But I don't think it's necessarily all Israel, but I think potentially they could be involved, yes.
I just I didn't really I just didn't really see the link at all. Like I didn't think it would be insane that, you know, mass migration from Morocco to Spain would happen. I just didn't think that it would happen like all at once at the same time, and I didn't see the link between the American government and the Israeli government doing something like that. I don't, you know,
I
it
mean,
just doesn't make any sense to me still.
they've been interfering in people's politics and they interfere in European politics and they support the far right. And this is a massive boon to the Spanish far right, Vox in particular, who are trying to displace Pedro Sanchez. So I think it's quite possible that they're happy with it. Their direct involvement, I don't know, but the Moroccan government, yes, definitely did. The Moroccan government, there are videos of Moroccan the police allowing it to happen. Ceuta as well, I apologize for saying. Well, someone just said it's pronounced, Ceuta. Sorry, but when you just type Ceuta, that doesn't help with the pronunciation. But yeah, sorry. I just think that they're more than happy with it. And by the way, I don't think Trump or any of them will have reprimanded Morocco for doing it. But I don't know, it's kind of hard to prove that Morocco and Israel specifically, that Israel and America specifically did this.
I mean, yeah, I just don't think like whether, you know, they're involved or not, I just don't think that sentiment like helps anybody. Do you agree about that?
What do you mean? What sentiment?
Like the sentiment that like the American government and the Israeli government would do something like this or just like outright put these migrants, you know, they would move mass amounts of people from one country to another.
No, I think that they made I don't think that they specifically did it. I think the Moroccan government did it, but I think that neither of them have a problem with it. And I think both of them have inflamed tensions with Spain, so maybe they had some kind of backing or support for it. But yeah, obviously the Moroccan government did it. Well, the Moroccan monarchy.
I think you have a very like, you know, realistic take on things. I think it's you put it way more, you know, understandable than like a Hassan Piker.
Well, it's probably
Or,
also
like-
because it's just a clip of him talking as opposed to like, I don't know, his
Well,
wider
it was like
opinions on
10
stuff.
minutes of him just saying the same thing over and over
What,
again.
that Israel
It
and
was-
America are involved? I mean, by the way, like, the only other thing I will say is increasingly in Trump too, there has just been way more interference in other people's politics. There's been like a situation, obviously, with Venezuela, where it's now ruled by Marco Rubio. They've threatened Cuba. They tried to regime change Iran. So, you know, maybe they were like to Morocco, go do this because it'll pressure them. Because previously, by the way, when they did it, they actually had success with doing it. So when they sent over the 8,000 migrants back in 2021, it managed to get Spain. Hold on one second. I was just reading about this earlier. Basically, when they did it back then, Spain abandoned its historic position on the Western Sahara and instead endorsed Morocco's autonomy plans for the territory. So you can put pressure on the Spanish government to do things, and maybe, just maybe, Israel and the US encouraged them to do it. But yeah, I don't know. Saying that the Israel and the US did it, I feel like it's kind of hard to say that they specifically did it.
Yeah, I feel like that claim would be kind of ridiculous to make, especially when it's just something you can't really prove. Like there's not going to be like a paper trail, you know?
Maybe,
But,
maybe not,
you
yeah.
know, I feel like every time something like this would happen, Israel would get blamed because, like, I feel like there's a lot of sentiment about, you know, this Israeli government being like this having more power than they really do, probably, it gets kind of overzealous.
Yeah, I do think that there is definitely an element of that, like some people especially who want to get out of some of the people who want to get out of confronting what America is, they blame the Israeli government, but the Israeli government does certainly interfere in other people's politics, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, they operate very similarly to the U.S., which, I mean, I'm not Israeli. I don't know how their government really works. But from what I've learned, they have a very similar like kind of mantra in geopolitical stances.
Yes, very much so. Is that your main
well, that
question?
was kind of that was kind of it.
Well, no problem. Thank you for asking, and thank you for coming up.
No problem. Have a good one.
Have a nice day. Guys, I've just received a new job. I will become an interpreter for Hassan Piker to spread his worldview to people. That's my new job. And also, someone just mentioned that a lot of the people didn't have bags or usual clothes. Yeah, apparently a load of them were just Moroccan. I don't know. I genuinely do not know. Click the link, Chris. I mean, clicking on a Ynet news article link is always dodgy. How Israel can help Morocco reclaim its north. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt that there is like I don't doubt that you can make links. I just think like specifically, did Israel or America directly do it? Maybe not. Can I ask a question? Well, generally we do debates. It depends what you're asking questions about. Like, what is the question that you wish to ask? And what does it revolve around? Like, that was a fine question to ask because it's something that's in the news recently. I just assumed you were writing everything Hassan says. Yeah, everything you hear on this stream is just what Hassan says, but repeated. Why didn't you say anything about the Alawite genocide? I mean, I feel like this whole thing of why do you not say things about specific things does not really work as well when I'm talking all about this on, when I don't really post videos about everything that's happening. There's even plenty of things happening in Palestine that I don't post videos about, or plenty of other things that I've not spoken about. What happened to the Alawites, I think it was back in the start of 2025, was really grotesque. It was also actually not in the UK, I think, when it happened. I was in Italy. The real debate we need. What's the debate? Hassan Piker, I don't think we'll be ever having a debate. I don't know. We're just having a really, I don't know why. This is the problem with trying to do TikTok stuff consistently. Like the previous days, you have loads of people coming up and then it just reduces to basically none. And I don't really know why. Yeah, I was trying to... How did he lose the war? By not winning it? Hugh Grant from AliExpress. Thank you. That's a great comment. By his hair like Remy and Ratatouille, he would have much better politics. Potentially. Why don't you talk about what I had for dinner? I'm sorry, I just didn't know. Genuinely, if you were Israel, how would you have responded to October the 7th? I would have stopped colonizing Palestinian land. I would have just stopped colonizing Palestinian land. I think that's the problem. I think I would have changed fundamentally what the goal of Israel is. Israel takes more Palestinian land and then says they need more security to protect said stolen Palestinian land. It's like this never-ending circular logic of what Israel gets up to. Go look at what they were doing in the West Bank prior to October the 7th. They'd killed like over 100 people during ostensibly no war, during a peace scenario. Thousands more had been dispossessed of their land. Entire communities had been wiped away. And then October the 7th happens. Like, I really find it hard to separate the two. And I think that they're the ones that have to change. Both y'all can bench press. He could bench press way more than I could. There's no way I could bench press anything near he could. I think I've seen him bench pressing, yeah, a large amount. That or they don't know what a judge is. Yes. That justifies killing 1,200 civilians. Well, Hamas didn't kill 1,200 civilians. That's absolutely not true. They killed something like 800, I think, civilians. But when it comes to October the 7th. It exists in the context of what Israel was doing, and if you remove it from that context, it's just insane. Someone said Hannibal Lecter. I don't know if you mean Hannibal Directive, but certainly an interesting one. It's called asymmetrical particularism. Jesus Christ. I don't know if you accidentally typed Hannibal Lecter. 350 something soldiers. Yes. Norm Finkelstein comparing 10-7 to Nat Turner Rebellion was enlightening for me. I mean, it exists in that context 100% of Israeli oppression. We need to get you on a bench pressing the entire weight of the all Israeli propaganda at once. Maybe I should be on that arc. I feel like you were just saying words, Yakub, there, insane words. The late great Hannibal Lecter. Ow, I've hurt my side as well, and I'm not sure how. Oh. How long have you been doing research on Palestine? Since I was 16, 17, and that means quite a while. So yeah, since I was 16, 17. Yeah, that means ages. Okay, right, we have someone. See if they're requesting to debate. Hello?
Hello.
What's up?
I just wanted to debate
About
you.
what?
Trump, Zionism, and Israel.
Okay.
So.
Okay, I'll just remove you. You sound like a child as well, so yeah. Chris, what's your max squat, bench, deadlift? I haven't done a deadlift. When I was 16, I deadlifted 160 kg, but I haven't really done a heavy deadlift since when I was 16. I stopped doing it. I don't even really deadlift anymore. Squat, I've been squatting recently, but I never go for 1 rep maxes, so I generally just do like, you know, somewhere between 80 to 100 for reps, but I've kind of stopped because it keeps giving me problems in my knee. And then also, when it comes to benching, the most I've ever bench pressed is 100, but I don't really do 1 rep max. I don't skip leg day now. Yeah, I don't know if anyone's gonna come up, so maybe we'll just swap over to YouTube if it's not happening soon. Also, mate, yeah. I feel like you just like the sound of your own voice. Well, why don't you come up and tell me why I'm wrong? I don't do much martial arts related stuff. I never have, actually. It's not something that interests me that much. Yeah, also, Half2, thank you for becoming a member on TikTok yesterday, or whatever it is, a super fan. Thank you for supporting the channel, incredibly kind. Get you a personal trainer. I don't need a personal trainer. Have you been to where you're talking about? Iridescent Blue, if I'm so wrong, you can come up and disprove me instead of just commenting stuff in the chat. Can I repeat my previous question? What is the main thing that those of the US, those of us in... Oh, God. That those of us in the US who are not dual citizens do? Sorry, I'm just receiving a call. Sorry, hold on. Oh, Jesus Christ, I'm putting my phone on mute after receiving that call. What is the main thing that those of us in the US who are not Israeli dual citizens do to support the Palestinian cause in our politics? What would you want the US to do to support, as in the US government or people in the US? I guess never stop talking about Palestine, never stop trying to raise awareness, especially amongst people who are around you, and convince them of what's going on in Palestine, and educating yourself, and then trying to make political change by holding candidates' feet to the fire and like doing Palestine-related organizing, if that's something in your area that you can do. You should debate Jonah Hill and then fight him. Well, he was saying that he could fight anyone. I once again, I don't know, and participate in boycotts. Yes, indeed. I don't know. The whole thing is like, you have people who just say, oh, I want to debate you via the chat, but you can come up. You do realize, like, I'll literally invite you up. Hold on. I can't see you for some reason. Deculturation had a good stream on the Norm Hassan interview. Deculturation is an interesting character, to say the least. That's where I'll leave that. Okay, I can't even find this person who keeps on commenting, but you can come up instead of just commenting shit. Do you ever condemn Putin? Yeah. What do you think about moving to the Israelis to Cyprus. What do you mean? They should either just live there or they should be arrested if they've perpetrated war crimes or crimes against humanity and crimes. But also a little wacky when it comes on his personal politics. 100%. Yeah, when it comes to Norm Finkelstein? Yeah, 100%. What do you think about what do I think about Israelis moving to Cyprus, or what do I think about moving them in general? I don't know. I don't really have a strong opinion about moving Israelis to Cyprus. Although there is some crazy shit going off in Cyprus. Else to be schooled. Get on and embarrass yourself, please. I need someone else to school. Yeah, I don't know. I really find this so weird about what's going on with TikTok Live. Like, you would think like after a few days of consistently streaming that it would push your numbers up, but somehow it pushes your numbers down, which I really just do not get on here at all. Norm/Destiny debate, the supercut. Yeah. Are you only debating? Well, do you want to debate? That's the thing, Nadia Peace. I don't think you want to debate, but I don't really know. The thing is we do debates, and that's the thing. I don't think we're gonna do. I don't think you want to debate. The Brits once planned to move the entire population of Hong Kong to Northern Ireland. Is that true? Opinions have largely changed, specifically after the March of Return. I don't know that. It's really dependent on gifts. Is it? Is it actually dependent on gifts? Because yesterday did fine in gifts. Did pretty well, in fact. Better than normal. Hello?
Hi, Chris. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. What's your question?
Yeah, my question is about Western media. What do you feel we can do to kind of sway Western media to actually cover the story in a very realistic light?
I don't think there's any way to sway Western media, unfortunately. I mean, the BBC will occasionally do reports on, like, what's going on in the West Bank, but ultimately I still think it's far too dominated by people like Rafi Berg and others and an editorial line that's like, oh, we have to make sure that we respect Israel. And I think that's where the problem lies. Like, these people just continually want to give an account of what's going on with Israelis, and it sucks. And I think the only alternative is like alternative media. There are people like, Electronic Intifada. There are content creators like people like myself and others who do talk about Palestine in a very different light to the mainstream media.
Yeah, and we all turn to the alternative media, but I think we need to hold our mainstream media accountable. For example, I've written letters to the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN. I've written many, many letters to the editorial boards, and I'm just really fed up with Western media. I'm really done with it, and I feel like there is so much brainwashing, even untruths are being told, like it's factually wrong. They don't give correct statistics, or they're skewed, or it's manipulative towards a Zionist agenda. And I feel like more people need to call out the editors and the writers. Television's even worse than print. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there and get your opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, but one of the things is I just wonder how you ever do that kind of stuff to hold them to account. There's too much money involved in this shit as well. Like, look at how Barry Weiss, someone who's like a talentless hack, just because she's pro-Trump, just because she's pro-Israel, gets gifted the keys to CBS, gets her Substack bought for hundreds of millions and turned into the free press. It's just utterly ridiculous.
Sorry, who's Barry Weiss? I don't know her.
Barry Weiss is so she ran something called the Free Press that was a Substack, I think, initially, that got bought out and then turned into like an actual publication, and she now has large control after CBS as a result of the Larry Ellison takeover of CBS, I think, or the Ellison takeover, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just impossible to change these people. They all know it's fucking wrong. They all know what's going on in Palestine is barbaric, but sadly, so many of them just want to two-side it and be like, oh, Israel wasn't always this way and blah, 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 blah.
It is beautiful, though, when you see interviews and then the interviewer kind of sabotages like Piers Morgan or something, where they think that the opinion's going to be pro-Zio and then they end up not being pro-Zio. That's kind of nice to watch. So we need more of that.
Yeah, I guess. But I think the thing is someone like Piers Morgan is still just like, you look at how he talks about things and he's like, oh, he's kind of just like, I love Israel. I think that Israel has this awesome right to exist. And it's still just kind of insane.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Pierce is slowly changing, though. I feel like he
I don't
listens a
know.
little bit.
Nah,
No.
I think Piers Morgan is just a liar, and I think he sticks his finger up in the wind and sees which way it's blowing, and then decides. Like literally, if you just listen to him, actually, whenever he talks about Palestine, he's like, "Oh, you're doing war crimes, but Hamas, but Hamas, but Hamas," and also still asking all those people to just condemn Hamas. It's just insane at this point. You know, so deep into a genocide, so deep into an Israeli assault on Palestinians that extends well beyond just Hamas.
Hmm. Anyway, I think more people need to hold media accountable, and just wanted to get your opinion. So thanks for
Well,
having
thank
me
you for
up.
coming up. Have a
Have a
nice
good
rest of the
one.
day. Bye-bye.
You too.
Someone else requested. I don't know if we're gonna get, as I say, I don't know if we're gonna get any debates. Oh, God. Hello?
Hello? Yeah, what's up?
What's up? What's up?
I disagree with the first one.
Okay, what, that Trump lost the Iran war?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I think he did what he wanted to do, and therefore he got what he needed, and therefore he won.
Well, what does he need to do, and what did he try and do?
Bomb all the sand people.
Ah, brilliant. Very clever.
Yeah.
Very clever to hear the thoughts of the average American. Thank you for making it clear of what the Burger Reich is like. Host, what's your average test level like? Brilliant. Thank you for that comment. I have no idea. Yeah, I know. It's just average Americans. You occasionally get people like that who are just trying to be edgy, but I don't know. Why do you think the world has testosterone levels are screaming? Okay, thank you. Why do you think the world has allowed Benny Net? But why did you not just say Benjamin Netanyahu? Why did you say Benny Net to describe Benjamin Netanyahu? Why do you think the world has allowed Benjamin Netanyahu to be in power for so long? Because Israelis keep electing him? You look uncomfortable sitting like that. Yeah, my stomach hurts. I don't know why. I must have twisted something or pulled a muscle. I don't know what it is, but my stomach hurts slightly. It's like the top of my abs. Well, they're not really abs, but yeah. Is it too late for Israel and Palestine to just share? Yeah, I think so. Like, your shoulders are high. Well, I can't move my things down anymore, I don't think. Maybe I can, actually. Maybe you got a good point there. Yeah, I can actually move those down. Oh, I need to get it right, but... Hold on. There we go. That does actually feel a little better. Thank you for talking about me. Thank you for letting me know. Benny Nets is an interesting comment. Tummy ache from hating Israel too hard. That does happen. You're saying I have flabby arms. Thank you for your commentary. It's very nice words to say. Any opposition today? No, same issue. You just get stuck on this kind of never-ending feedback loop of just people not coming up. So maybe I'll have to just be careful about like how often I do this. Hernia arc. Yeah, I'm in my hernia arc. Well, you just keep telling me I should get on TRT. I'm okay, thank you. I value my hair. The average American is not MAGA, my friend. Well, you keep electing Donald Trump, so... No. I wouldn't deny that the average Brit is pretty racist, because you can listen to them talk about immigration or who they end up electing. Democracy Now! Was fear-mongering about Russia for years. What about Russia? What were they fear-mongering about? We should hold independent media to account. Oh! Crystal, was that you? Was that you on there? Interesting. Okay, these are just weird comments. Thank you for letting me know you have big arms. I'm glad to hear that you're taking stuff. Don't talk shit on Amy Goodman. I'll try my best. Male's nipples are dangerous. Just be careful you don't do a nip slip. Is that not allowed on No, that's allowed on YouTube. I see people working out shirtless all the time. Hello, Crumpet Chris. Thank you for your commentary. Okay. Oh, God. I'm just going to block this person because they're just saying rubbish. I'm not that lipped. Okay. I would argue the second Trump win was a message to the Dems. We will let it burn if you run and do nothing, Dems. I mean, in many ways, yeah, it should have obviously been that. It should have been obvious that you have to make major change. And if you just have this, like, massively pro-Israel policy, you know, I don't know, like, what's going to happen? Are the Zionists hiding today? I don't know. If there's no one up in 5 minutes, I'm just going to end the stream on TikTok and stuff, and I'll just carry on Twitch and stuff, because I don't see the point. What's your take on John Kiriakou? I like that comment where he's talking about Jerusalem, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna send you somewhere you don't like, and he's like, I'm not scared of Guantanamo, and he says, Guantanamo? I never said Guantanamo. I'm gonna send you to Jerusalem, although I think going to Tel Aviv would be worse. Oh my gosh, Elephant Fish, thank you for the 20 gifted. Incredible. I need to check the goal, because I think we're actually nearly all the way up. That is incredibly goated. And everyone who just got a membership, Elephant Fish, my man, thank you so. I accidentally just did the wow. Elephant Fish, you can have a wow. You can have a clap even. No, I do like my soundboard that I get from here. My man, Elephant Fish, thank you so much. Incredibly kind. Thank you for supporting the channel as always, my man. He hasn't figured out what a judge is yet. That's the problem. You know the song by Passenger that's like, oh, you only need the light when it's burning. I miss this guy now. I miss Jiu-Jitsu Joe.
Welcome to the Burger Reich.
But yeah, thank you so much, my man. Incredibly kind donation from Elephant Fish. Goated. Never getting one. Ray, I try my best. But yeah, I don't really care for John Kiriakou much. I feel like he just tells lies. Yeah, someone said he just tells tales. I really do think he is just a bit of a tale teller. Oh my god, my stomach. Oof, it hurts so much, and I don't know why. Chris Kunz's singing stream went. Yes, that's my next plan. God, fucking hell. Are the Zionists hiding today? Yes, I think that they are. I don't think that they're coming up. You never retire as an intelligence officer like him. I do like it when he talks about stuff like Angry Birds, though. I think he should do that more when he's like, my wife broke up with me because I was playing Angry Birds every morning. That is goated behavior by him. Honestly, thank you again. Thank you so much, Elephant Fish. Try not to use ham homonym attacks. Kunstler karaoke stream. I don't think you're allowed to do karaoke. Thank you for the hat and mustache over on TikTok. Get in some Epsom salt later. I do not know what Epsom salt is. Boy George, why laughing myself? I love Boy George. I love his song about you say genocide, I say war, we will dance again, Boy George. A reggae pro-Israel song. It's an AI... Also, I24 News said it's just a fully AI song. We Will Dance Again by Boy George. I wonder if the Israelis are, like, actually reading about that. Have you seen recent clashes in Ethiopia? No, I haven't seen it. I legit wanted to speak to you. Well, I mean, I try and do debate stuff, but I don't know if we're even going to get any more. So as I say, by 1:15, if there's nothing going on, I won't do it. I won't do any more. What do you think about Israel's illegal invasion of Lebanon? I don't think very positively about it, obviously. I don't think very positively at all. I really don't like it. I haven't even apologized. A lot of people haven't even apologized. Apologized for what? Starmer Chameleon. Yeah, I really don't know how TikTok Live works. That it's like, oh yeah, you know, you will get a couple of days where it grows, and then a couple of days where it just retreats into no one coming on. Oh my god. Oh Jesus Christ. That Boy George song, unironically, Tel Aviv impressed. Oh my god, it is just... I don't know, who listens to, like, Boy George in 2026? Oh, Jesus. Maybe I should change the... Hold on, maybe I should change it. From Trump lost the Iran war. What was it previously? Israel has no right to exist. Israel does not have right to exist. There we go. I'll put it back as that. Israel does not have the right to exist. The song is also AI generated, but is he not singing in it? Boy George listens to Boy George. That is probably true that Boy George is the last George listener. Israel are a disgrace. That would be a great debate topic. Is Israel a disgrace? Yes, it would be a pretty simple answer. I do not think that Israel is, when you go for a piss, mate. I think he'll copyright me. Should we be worried about your stomach? No. It's just a pulled muscle from, dumbbell bench pressing or some kind of stuff. Will A. Well, Will, I think you follow me, so I don't think you want to debate, which is the major issue. We're trying to do debates, but I don't know if anyone is going to join for them. He's always had that creepy look about him. He'd fit in well in Israel. Next, I'm going to be on Omegle looking for debates with pro-Israel people. I didn't eat American lettuce. No, I don't have some kind of stomach issue like that. What do you think of Matt Nuclear joining the Daily Wire? As I said earlier, it is incredible. The Daily Wire basically had unlimited money to do streaming related stuff. They had unlimited money to do whatever they wanted, and they ended up making, they ended up just making the biggest amount of nonsense that has culminated in paying Matt Nuclear to debate for them. But I do disagree with you. Okay, well, we can have you up then. Hello?
Yes, hello.
What's up? What do you disagree with me on?
I suppose number one is partially a framing issue. Number two is a bit iffier. So I think I would mainly discuss one.
Okay.
Which is like Israel's right to exist, I think is a improper question, right? Israel does exist.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say it's probably not going anywhere, given the fact that they are, they have nuclear weapons. They are pretty well entrenched. I think the Arabs had their chance to dislodge Israel probably the last time, maybe in the 60s. But now there's really no chance.
I don't think that that's necessarily how Israel would go about no longer existing. I think the way in which Israel would no longer exist is if it was no longer a Zionist Jewish supremacist state, in the sense of it was a state of all of its citizens. And the thing is Israel is going to annex the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem. The question is whether it annexes those with the Palestinians in them or it expels them. And I think if it annexes them with Palestinians in, then it no longer exists.
So you advocate for, this is very interesting. So you would advocate for basically de facto Israeli annexation of the Palestinian territories.
I think a one-state solution. Like a one-state solution. I think Israel has already de facto annexed the Palestinian territories. I think it controls their lives. I think it's
de jure. Sorry, you advocate for de jure annexation.
I think that what I advocate for is a singular state.
Now, I would say that if Israel was to, the reason why Israel, I would say, doesn't annex those territories is because they would have a problem on their hands, is that Jews would now be a minority of their citizens. And I think that what's more likely is that Israel would maintain the status quo, continue on in the settlements to gradually raise the Jewish population of the West Bank, rather than make millions of Arabs citizens. I don't think the Israelis would ever allow themselves, or let's say allow Jews, to become a minority of Israeli citizens, because Israel would cease to be a Jewish state.
Which would be a good thing.
And I do think that is... What, sorry?
Israel no longer being a Jewish state would be undeniably a good thing.
Whether you think it will or won't, I don't think the Jews would ever accept that.
But I think that the thing is, okay, so there's no hope of a two-state solution, right? There just isn't. Israel has completely destroyed and eviscerated the Palestinian economy. They continually reject a two-state solution. The main guy opposing Netanyahu right now to the vaguely the left is Gadi Eisenkot. Gadi Eisenkot does not support a Palestinian state, so they're not going to do that. And so I think it's just a realism thing of being like, yeah, Israel is de facto annexing these territories already, so why not just make it a state of all of its citizens? And as I say, that means that Israel no longer exists as a Jewish state. And I think that's for the best. I don't think we should have states that preference certain ethnicities over others.
Well, I think it's because I don't think you're going to see an end to Jewish national sentiments. And since the Jews already have a state, I don't think that it's very likely that they'll give it up in order to give Arabs citizenship. You can say that that's what they ought to do. And even then, if there was a one-state solution, I could maybe understand a binational agreement in which Arab and Jewish national aspirations were both attempted to be not syncretized, but at least both, let's say, placated in some ways, kind of what we did in Bosnia. Though I think that would also require a great degree of Israeli sovereignty being limited. I think you would have to impose either a European or an Asian or a Latin American as basically a viceroy, like we did in Bosnia, in order to subdue the national wills of the local peoples. Because you can't have a local running that. Absolutely not. You cannot have a Jew or an Arab in charge of the whole thing.
Or it could just be a democracy, like an actual democracy, a state that's of all of its citizens with a choice of deciding what the country is and does and becomes. And obviously the Palestinian claim to the land is stronger. So they were the ones who were displaced and ethnically cleansed and have been oppressed for decades by the state of Israel. And they should have undeniably a right to choose what goes on in their country.
I mean, I don't... That's the problem. You're dealing very much with rights, which I think is overly idealistic. I think that the Jews have it and they want it, and the Palestinians, unfortunately for them, are materially weaker. They are internationally weaker. They no longer hold that same territory. The PA is not what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. The PA isn't what it was. It's not like you even still have these guys running around with Kalashnikovs anymore. I mean, they do, but now they're mostly like arresting Islamists in, Bethlehem. So there isn't the same ability, I would say, for any sort of Palestinian force to basically make demands of the Jews for anything.
Well, there is an international community that in the future could be different and could try and uphold basic human decency, and I think that that's what I advocate for. I know that these things are difficult. I would like to see change in many different countries, and I will always sit there and advocate for it, even if it is difficult and complex and it's something that's tough to reach. In many of these places, you could say, well, that government controls it right now, so things will never change, but impossible things have happened before, I'm sure when people were beginning the French Revolution, they were like, yeah, we're just a bunch of random people going up against, a state that has existed for hundreds of years, or like a political entity that has existed for hundreds of years, and we're confronting it, and one day we'll, maybe collapse it. But the state had the power, and eventually things changed. And I think there's plausibility in Palestine. The whole nuclear weapons thing, the Soviet Union had nuclear weapons. They were far more powerful of a state than Israel has ever been, or far more powerful of like a Soviet Union than Israel has ever been, and they ended up collapsing. Didn't South Africa have nuclear weapons as well? I know they certainly tested them.
They had a nuclear program.
But they certainly tested nuclear weapons. Did they not have any actual nuclear weapons?
They had a joint nuclear program with the Israelis. It's still somewhat in the dark of how much nuclear weapons they have. They did give up their nuclear program, though I think South Africa is also a different case just because the whites were a minority in South Africa proper, and Israel has been far more successful in maintaining a Jewish majority. Hence why I think the national case has to be made. I mean, if your vision, I would say that any solution in that area has to acknowledge the national aspirations of the two peoples. I don't think we can have a sort of French-style blindness about the Jews and the Arabs in terms of what they want collectively. That's why I use the Bosnian option. I'm actually surprised that I think, so dismissive of the Bosnian solution to this, just because I think Bosnia reflects
Because I think when it comes to places like the MENA region, forcing in rulers from other places because apparently the people there don't have an ability to rule themselves has worked out kind of terribly. Like, that's how, Israel was created, because it was like, oh, the Palestinians aren't ready to rule themselves. They'll just do bad things. They're backwards. And the mandatory system was
don't think
basically seen as
that's
bringing them towards the ability to actually
see.
govern themselves.
I don't think that's necessarily what. At least that's not what the Jews were doing. I think that the as you said, it was colonialism. The intention of the Zionist settlements was not to rule over the Arabs. It was to replace the Arabs. The whole point, part of the Zionist project earlier on, was to not hire Arab labor,
Yes.
and to replace it with Jewish labor, right? So I think that you can't. I don't think you can equate the idea of Israel trying to create a. Israel did not intend to create like a Jewish ruling minority with an Arab majority. Its goal was to create a
Yes.
fully Jewish society. So I would actually say that the Israelis, would be part of the local population whose national consciousness you would probably say would be subdued. Now, this is what I would say is probably the best solution that someone who believes in a one state is going to be a binational Bosnian-esque state, which inevitably is going to have to require a lot of foreign oversight over it, in which its sovereignty is going to have to be greatly curtailed. In my view, in order to prevent sectarian violence, I would maybe even advocate for essentially a permanent either UN, or if you want to get uglier, you could even say NATO occupation of Israel Palestine, if you were to establish it as a sort of as a binational republic. Like, I don't think you can have the leadership be entirely local, because then the sectarian tendencies, I think, will be too great.
I think sectarian tendencies are quite often overstated, and if you look at actually giving justice for the decades of occupation, marginalization, displacement, and persecution of the Palestinian people, you can find something different, and you can imagine like some kind of better future, And I don't think like having some foreign occupying power there forever will ever fix the problems, because all it would ever do is just serve to kind of like, keep the tensions down, but keep them remaining. Because what the tensions really are between Palestinians and Israelis derive from what you're talking about, which is the fact that Jewish settlers came to Palestine with the goal of eliminating the indigenous population and replacing them and building a state that had no place for the Palestinians in. At some points, there maybe were thoughts about a two-state solution as like a way to sort of fob off and deal with a huge amount of Palestinians that would have conflicted with the Jewish state's ability to have a majority in that land. But at this point, all Israel is doing is just never-ending settlement of Palestinian land and then justifying killing and torturing and exterminating Palestinians on the basis of false security. I do understand looking at this with kind of like a bit of not optimism, like despair, I guess is the term I'm looking for, and looking at Palestine and thinking like, how do you stop Israel and all of this stuff? Pessimism, yes.
I prefer
pessimism, but I think that also the other thing is, as I say, is like I would rather invest in the idea that things can change, because either you just sort of sit here and just be like, yeah, I don't know, this is just going to be bad forever, they can't change and they'll be ruled over. I think like the Israelis have really forfeited their right to decide the future of Palestine, because all they've done in Palestine is reject, international law, where they would have got 78% of the land and would have got security from all of the surrounding states. Like, all of the surrounding states would have agreed to a peace agreement with them had they done a two-state solution.
I think that the problem you have there is I understand that the issue of rights is what you speak of, but I think that you have to acknowledge that there isn't that same power, which I think actually determines these things. Like the Arab states that could have forced Israel into basically acknowledging a state don't have the capacity to. I mean, I would say the Syrians haven't been an existential threat to Israel for a long time. Al-Sharaa is just sort of I would say the culmination of that, but I don't think Assad was a existential threat to Israel's existence, and I don't think there has been an existential threat to Israel's existence for decades. Again, I think the last time they had a chance was the 60s. But that's, when you say despairing, I think that we should speak of these things very clearly. Like, I would say that
for lack of a better, I don't know how else really to say it, but I think that more likely than a Palestinian sovereignty over, Tel Aviv, I would see Palestinian extinction as more likely, or at least total Palestinian, diasporization in which Israel basically somehow creates it so that there is not. Now, I don't think that's actually likely either. I think the most likely option is a continuation of the status quo as it relates to the PA's relationship with Israel. Maybe you could see a PAification in Gaza. I think that's actually also very possible, in which Gaza and the PA cease to be maybe not independent or maybe not like integrated anymore, but I think you could easily see Israel's relationship with Gaza is very similar to Israel's relationship with the West Bank, in which there is a government there that is largely in line with that competes with Israel on some issues, but is not actively hostile in the same way that that the Hamas government was. But I do think that if you're going to want to create a binational state, which is probably, I think, if you say that you want a one state, I think it's the best option the Arabs have. Now, I would still say that I think a two-state is preferable, but I agree that Israel has made a two-state less and less likely due to continued settlements and continued refusal to acknowledge PA sovereignty. But I think that if your goal is a united, I don't know what you want to call it, Holy Land or whatever, I don't think you'll be able to do so with without acknowledging the sectarian divisions. I mean, you say that sectarian divisions are often overblown, but I think when you look at polling, you realize how deep the sectarianism is, both among Jews and among Arabs. I mean, especially when you talk about justice, I don't think justice can be handled internally. Certainly not. Any sort of idea of justice ought not to be put in the hands of the locals. It should probably be handled by Europeans or East Asians or Latin Americans.
Or just the international community on the whole. Like, I think that we already technically have bodies for them, but the problem is the existence of the American empire. I think that this is just too much of an investment in kind of like pessimism of like, yeah, Israel will just keep on doing these things forever. And I don't think they are tenable forever. I don't think that this can be a thing that just goes on forever. I think that there will be a change eventually in politics across Europe and generally the West and also Asia, one would hope, when it comes to Israel. I think that it is just way too difficult to just continually justify supporting this weird apartheid state that we're all clinging to, that's incredibly racist, that's incredibly bigoted, that's an incredible nuisance to capitalism and global stability.
It's not really that hard. People, I mean, most governments still support Indonesia, even when it engages in settler colonialism of the Papua. It's not that hard, really. To
when it comes to Israel, though, there's so much more attention. Like if you compare it to something like, I don't know,
there is more
Sri
attention.
Lanka,
there is more attention, but I think that
does.
the idea that this is going to reverse, I mean,
like,
I think that what you'll see more is a lack of support for Israel, but I don't think you're going to see people spending the amount of capital to support a Palestinian, like a reinvigoration of like what the PLO.
I mean, but the other problem for me on all of this is I just don't think Palestinians need to be ruled over by other people. I think when it comes to Israel, you have to, the international community has levers and it can stop them. Like it can, but it makes choices not to. Every American president could have gotten a two-state solution if they just put their foot down and said no to Israel, but they didn't do it. And I think that they can do it if they want some kind of binational solution when they realize that the two-state solution is no longer a viable thing at all. But I really just do not like this notion of that Palestinians have to be governed over, that it has to be done by like an international community. I don't think it's necessarily true. Sure, maybe justice should be handled by international bodies for impartiality. But when it comes to something like the future of Palestinians and the land in which they inhabited and the land in which they live, I don't really understand why they need some foreign country to occupy their land to engage in telling them how it should develop because, oh, there might be sectarian violence in the future. Right now, there is one state that engages in violence that the Palestinians couldn't even dream of. Whatever you think about like individual days of violence like October the 7th or whatever attack perpetrated by Palestinians, none of that compares to running a mass torture regime for decades. None of that compares to the violence of like everyday oppression in the West Bank. And I think it just comes down to, if we're talking about like these the hypotheticals, why would you not just invest in the hypothetical that is Israel being held to account by the international community and being made to act differently? Like, they can do it, and it doesn't require that much of an investment. Israel is not really that important to the MENA region. The Gulf states are the powerhouses of the Middle East, North Africa, especially economically. Israel is just this state that has been particularly useful for disciplining regimes that don't dance the correct tune when it comes to the West.
Well, I think the Gulf states are part of my point. I mean, it's a point I haven't brought up, but I think it's an important point to say that the absolute collapse in international support for the Palestinian cause. I mean, I think that what you're seeing more so is you are seeing people being reluctant to basically be complicit in what they see as Israel's actions. But what you're not seeing is the same sort of investment in a Palestinian struggle, if that makes sense. Like what Spain is doing, I would say, is largely attempting to no longer be complicit in Israel, but is not particularly invested in support for a Palestinian, let's say, strength in the same way that the Gulf states used to be. And the Gulf states I bring up because the Gulf states have, due to American influence, largely abandoned the Palestinians as a force. So when you say that the main power brokers of the Arab world, yes, the Gulf states, pan-Arabism, I think, is dead.
Yes.
It's no longer really a motivating block in the international community anymore. Now, speaking of like what I would say a binational state is, I do think a binational state would require it, because I do not, and this would go both ways, by the way. Like, this is very, very, honestly, you would probably find it very familiar, very British in my view of, I see both peoples as a highly sectarian people, both Israeli Jews and Palestinian Arabs, as very highly sectarian, who, given the chance, would attempt to wipe the other off the map. And I don't mean the governments.
I don't necessarily
sort of
find that
violence.
so convincing, because the major issue is the Israelis
I mean, we
have
have
actually
polling.
invested everything in doing that, whereas a group like the PLO didn't do that. The PLO recognized, Yasser Arafat recognized Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state and would have built
Yes, after
some kind of
decades.
small state next to it. Well, in the 1970s, he's alleged to have made overtures towards a two-state solution. He is alleged to have done that. I think Colter Loriz wrote about this, that he'd already done
And
it
as my
back then.
point
But the whole
remains,
thing
look
is
at
that
what
they
the
weren't
PA has
looking...
become.
The Palestinian Authority are largely just collaborationists who still kind of recognize
Well, yes,
Israel's
that's my
right
point,
to
and
exist.
they come from Fatah.
Yeah,
and
they
come from the
recognize
PLO.
Israel's right to exist. I don't think that they're pushing for a genocide of all Israelis, but unfortunately, Israeli politics is dominated by desires to just mass expel Palestinians with the ability to actually do it, and that's what they're working towards.
So wouldn't you say then that the international community would be necessary to keep Israeli sectarianism in check?
I think the international community is necessary
that
for...
French soldiers would have to occupy these areas to keep Arabs safe?
To keep Arabs safe. Well, I mean, in the context
Yes.
of de-Zionizing Israel, no. Like, I
Well, I
think
don't
if you
think you can
de-Zionize the state of Israel and you take power out of the major institutions out of control of Jewish supremacists, I think you're kind of fine. Like, look, if the
I mean, because we're
Israeli
gonna
Air
have
Force
millions
is not
and millions of Jews
What do you
living in
mean?
that country who are going
Yes.
to be pretty hostile to Arabs. I like.
Well, you have to engage
you're
in
not
some
going
kind of re-education of them and talk about why you have like a shared interest in just living your lives together and not persecuting
Yeah, but
the
you
other.
can't let the Arabs do that. It has to be a European or an East
Why
Asian
can't you
or
let the
Latin American.
Palestinians do that?
They're too invested.
They're too invested
They're
in
too
what?
close to it. They're too close to it. It would be like giving the Bosniaks the ability to re-educate the Serbs in Bosnia, or giving the Serbs the ability to re-educate the Croats. You have to have a less invested force.
Okay,
Ideally, Germans, maybe French.
ideally Germans.
Germans, Chinese, Japanese.
The Germans are way too
Koreans.
invested in Israel. The Germans are invested in
The
Israel
Germans
as a
are
way
probably
to...
that example. The French, then French, Italians, Swedes.
But the thing is,
maybe.
for the longest time, too many of these have
Irish.
been invested in the problem that has created...
No, not Irish.
The problem that has created... Well, I mean, at least the Irish have been invested in the Palestinian struggle for dignity, whereas like all these other countries have largely been invested and happily complicit in just supporting Israel.
I mean, I think that there probably should be some Irish, maybe an Irish. There should definitely be Irish peacekeepers, probably. And in my, sort of binational solution, there probably would be Irish peacekeepers stationed somewhere in this hypothetical state. There would also probably be Japanese, not Indian, probably not Indian, not Pakistani. South Americans are probably good. Brazilians would probably be okay.
Sorry, I didn't actually mean to do that. I did not mean to do that in response to Brazilians. I don't know. I feel like it's just. I feel like, you know what? Like this notion.
It is colonial. I'll acknowledge that. My worldview is very in line with like mandate.
Well, I mean, the mandates were fucking insane, you know that, and they're like the major issue for like creating the problems of the Middle East, North Africa region. Like, okay, so the Palestinians, for example, the Palestinians had already sent delegations to the Ottoman Parliament. Like, the vast majority of these countries would have happily emerged into something that resembled a nation state. They didn't need to be ruled over by the international community. In fact, the international community has done everything.
I would say that a mandate system would be necessary if you were to create a binational state that was both Jewish and Arab, and somehow you respected the autonomy of both Jews and Arabs. I would recommend federally, but Israel's quite small, and I'm not sure how that could work. But it worked in Bosnia, so...
I think when it comes to something like, if you're talking about a general international community of trying to uphold like these ideals of basic human decency, a right to live in the land, and justice for perpetrators of crimes during the, you know, the decades of Israeli genocide, apartheid, war crimes, never-ending shit like that. Like, you know, people often have a lot to say about the Palestinians and them electing terrorists. The Israelis elected Ariel Sharon, like a guy who was responsible for a crime that is on a scale far larger than October the 7th, the guy who reveled in killing people.
That argument just makes me think that you need to limit the sovereignty of the locals, because the locals are too inclined towards these sorts of extremisms. Like,
but the thing is when
Palestinians, of Bosnia?
The thing is I'm not that familiar with the Bosnian situation. I'm going to be honest. I don't really want to talk about it because it's not my area of expertise. I do wish to learn more about
I'm using it as an example because I think that it's the only. It would be, honestly, you might even have to make the sort of high representative, the United Nations High Representative for Bosnia and Herzegovina, is sometimes called the Viceroy, and it's because he is not appointed. He is appointed by basically a European Commission, and he has the ability to veto anything from the elected parliament. And I think that would probably be necessary. I also think there should be a collection of non-local military personnel there who can maintain peace and order between those communities. Well, should there be local Jewish and Arab police? Sure. Should they have access to tanks? Maybe not. Maybe the tanks should be just driven by Japanese and Irishmen.
I'm sorry. Is this like in part like a joke? Because this feels really just unusual. Talking about whether Japanese and Irish people should be driving tanks or not.
Well, it's about who should occupy and who should hold the bulk of the military power, and it probably shouldn't be.
I think that the international community just doesn't have to do these things. I think that they can just uphold basic things. Most fucking, if we're talking about a world like this, okay, you're talking about a world that is completely different in the sense of like America and the Western powers being powers that are interested in justice rather than persecution, okay?
I mean,
if we're talking about that, all of the, yeah, of course I am, but all of the tech, all of the like advanced military tech that the Israelis have access to is just controlled by the Americans. Like, they can fiddle with people's F-35s, can't they, to make them stop working, basically. They could just fiddle with the tech and cause issues related to that.
Well, I don't think you want American Marines. Maybe you do. Maybe you do want American Marines to be the ones who are...
I don't think you even necessarily need these Marines. If you just have an international community, which is basically like, okay, we've got to uphold things like, I don't know, not torturing people, not ethnically cleansing people, not settling other people's land, not believing in supremacist ideologies, and they enforce that by, you know, with sanctions and with means to actually try and ensure that these things don't happen, it is plausible.
I think that if you don't back it up with a strong force of people who are not directly connected to the conflict, you're going to see a lot of lynchings. That's basically what I think. I think you're going to see a lot of dead Arabs and a lot of dead Jews.
We're already seeing a lot of dead Palestinians.
We are, but your solution is basically, you know, somehow bring an end to the Jewish nature of the Israeli state and then leave. I don't think that you can have such a hands-off approach to this. And the reason I bring up Bosnia so much is I do see it as probably the best solution to having a binational state is you have a foreign bureaucrat who basically wields absolute power, but does not use it often, but is allowed
I just think it's
legally
just kind of
and
crazy
backed
that
up through
like
arms to just say, no, you're not allowed to do that to
But,
the
like,
locals if they get too
I feel like this is
fiery.
just way too supremacist because also like I'm gonna be real. Which continent is more bloody? Southwest Asia, well, just Asia more generally in the 20th century, or Europe? It's Europe, is it not?
Well, I would like to see this guy be Japanese or Korean, and I'd like to see a Japanese guy basically tell
Okay.
the two groups, no, you're not allowed to do that.
Okay.
And if you keep preaching that, we're going to have to arrest you.
Okay, well, thank you for this conversation about whether Japanese people should have tanks or not. I'm quite intrigued by it. Have a nice
Well,
day.
they should. I think. I mean, look, man, this is how you have to look at these things. I mean, I don't know why you're so hostile to the idea of a binational state that includes foreign,
Because if we're
checks.
talking about like a theoretical thing, okay, of the international community just trying to ensure and uphold some kind of, some form of peace and some form of dignity where both people are, respected and are given rights. I like that. I just find it like kind of weird when you're just saying like specific nationalities that you think could or couldn't control like Arabs, and I just find it kind of weird. Like I don't really think
no. You
I
say
don't really
just
think
Arabs, it's not
Arabs
just
have really
Arabs. We're controlling both of them.
I don't really think people in the Middle East have had all that many chances to rule themselves, and even when they have, it has been inflected with responses to colonialism. Like I think that that's the really hard thing when you look at like authoritarianism in the Middle East and dictatorship and all of this stuff. I don't think it necessarily comes specifically from some innate characteristic of people who actually...
Well, I don't think it does. There's a reason why I don't think the Bosnians should have full rule of themselves
But when
either.
you're talking like this, it just does kind of feel that way, that the stuff you're saying feels like it's really pointed in the sense of being like, yeah, they can't rule over themselves, but if a Japanese guy was there, he could.
Well, I mean, I was trying to think of nations that you probably wouldn't have an issue ruling over them. What, do you want me to say an Argentine or a Colombian or a Venezuelan? Because I know you'd have an issue if it was an American, and you probably have an issue if it was a Brit, and you probably have an issue if it was...
Well, I think if you were talking more about the general international community, I would feel like kind of differently. But it feels like you're really specifically saying X, Y, or Z person could do it, but Palestinians couldn't. I just don't know why it's so like pointed.
I don't think a Palestinian or an Israeli, if we're going to do this, should be basically the equivalent of the Israel-Palestine High Commissioner. In the same way that you never have a Bosnian or a Serb or a Bosniak or a Serb be the high representative in Bosnia. You don't do that because that defeats the purpose of this office.
But like, one has to wonder how satisfied Bosnians are with that, and it would be interesting. And I'm seeing people who are claiming to be Bosnian in the chat saying something different. Yeah, but I'm not so sure that peace is the final like answer. I think what you kind of want is some form of justice.
Not mob justice. I don't want a bunch of Jews hanging from cranes or Arabs hanging from cranes.
Someone said, "What's your Hearts of Iron 4 mod list?"
I don't play video games, man.
Okay. Sorry, someone asked it, and I thought I would just ask because I don't know. It just feels the way you talk about this. I don't quite know how to describe it because I'm not sure I'm like fully in disagreement with you of the sense of like there's a responsibility of the international community to do more, but it's just the way you talk about it. I don't know how to describe it.
Is it because I'm too blunt about it?
It's not that it's blunt. It's that it's really unusual. Like it just feels like you're sort of. You're saying like, oh, I'm pro mandates, which were kind of just like repackaged colonialism, which was like, yeah, Palestinians don't have this ability to rule over themselves. And then you're saying like Japanese guys would be able to rule over them. But then we're talking about like a theoretical, more just world. And I think that the international community can uphold these things without needing to rule over other people. And I think when you remove things that are like, yeah, Jewish people have this like inalienable right to take over Palestinian territory, which is kind of backed by the international community, you're talking about such a fundamental change that one would question if you even needed these kind of things.
I mean, well, yeah, if we're being realistic, I told you what's realistic. I think the problem is you're engaging in either full defeatism or being so idealistic, that you're basically saying there'll be an end to sectarianism and there will be no abuses in this theoretical, what do you say, whatever you would say, de-Zionization. I don't know the
but
actual
like sectarianism,
conjugation of that, but
sectarianism in the context of, or what we were talking about, sectarianism in the context of what it means in the context of like Israel and Palestine, okay? Sectarianism is a result of the actions of Israel, right? Like, if you go somewhere and take other people's
I think when you
lands
have different
away,
peoples close in contact, sectarianism is a inevitable
but it's
result,
not
and it just gets
necessarily
worse in certain
it's not
societies.
necessarily a guarantee. So I feel like Sudan for like millennia was a relatively peaceful place in spite of being quite ethnically diverse, but then tribe was kind of politicized by the British, if I remember correctly, when they went into the country and they, set up a system that was preferential towards people who they deemed
I'd say
as
they worsened
less
it. I would say
African.
the British worsened it, right? They worsened
Yeah,
these distinctions
and I think
in
when
the same way that they did in North America, the same way they did
Labubu.
in Australia, the same way that but these sectarian divisions, these
But, like-
divisions still existed. And I am also going to say that in the case of Jews and Arabs, especially when you're talking about the evolution of Judaism into an ethnic identity in which, no, they're Jew and Arab are separate. Even Arab-speaking Jews are not Arab. They are
Arab Jews was made separate largely by the state of Israel. So like a lot of Iraqi
Yes,
Jews,
it was, but
a
I don't
lot
think
of
you can
Iraqi
undo it.
Jews, well, I don't know if that is necessarily untrue. I think if you
I don't think the
talk,
Jews are going to cease to-
But I think if you talk, like, even when it comes to Palestinians, right, who have like really, really, really strong views about Israelis, like deep, deep views, like people from Gaza, most of them are more than happy to accept Jewish people if said Jewish people acknowledge the fact that, yeah, Palestinians are the victims of this like brutally oppressive colonial system. Like, they don't just have some innate hatred that's based on sect, in my opinion. I think that there will be people who just have like a sectarian, but I feel like the dominant thing in the context of Palestinians is the fact, like, they are literally being subjected to apartheid, to genocide, to extermination, to expulsion, to displacement by Israel. Like, that's what inflames the sectarian tension, not some innate thing that will always exist between the two of them.
Right, but the idea that if the sectarian, let's say the violence or this ends, that doesn't mean that the sectarianism is going to go away.
Well, it depends
maybe
if you
can
talk
think
about
the High
justice.
Commissioner
would have to be a temporary thing. Maybe you think the High Commissioner would have to be a temporary thing, maybe. But I think that if you're talking about creating a binational state in which Jews and Arabs, by the way, I don't think you can do so without at least having some carve-outs for community autonomy. I think you'll have to at least acknowledge that there are going to be people who want some sort of Jewish entity and some people who want some sort of Arab entity.
The thing is like, one of the things, I mean, Israelis love to say this, and the state definitely persecutes them, and there is massive racism against them. But there are Palestinians who live inside of 48 Palestine. Like, they live there, and their treatment and their relationship with Jewish people is not the same as like people who live in the West Bank, or particularly the Gaza Strip, because of the differing levels of persecution. They are 100% maligned by the state, and they are not fully equal citizens, but they do live alongside Jewish people, and generally the people subjecting them to violence are like, interpersonal violence or violence by the police that pertains to like displacement and stuff. Many of these people would just be like, yeah, I'm happy to live alongside Palestinians. And like, the other thing is there are like, someone's just mentioned Sarah Roy. Sarah Roy is someone who wrote multiple books. She actually hung around like members of Hamas and was like, yeah, these people are fine with me. I'm American and Jewish. There's not some like innate sectarian hatred that they have some deep lying desire within them to harm me because I'm Jewish. No, they have some problem with me because of the result of what is being their problem with me would rely on my political beliefs. And if you talk about removing those political beliefs and offering some kind of justice to the Palestinian people, then I think you remove like this everlasting thing of never-ending sectarian violence.
But you can't let locals be the ones in charge of doing that. It has to be foreigners.
But like, what my point would be is, I think you can have some kind of local administration. I think that there are Palestinians
I'm okay with some local
and Jewish
administration.
people. But this is where like, I think the two of us separate, in the sense of like, in this hypothetical, okay, we're talking about like some kind of major change in the international community, okay? And the international community are upholding rights and basic decency and not behaving the way that they have done, for decades, and the way that even when international law was written, they would alter things like the Genocide Convention because they were scared that those things might be turned on them one day, okay? And I think that we're talking about like the international community acting in some different way. I think that like that's okay. That what I'm saying basically is that like if the international community is acting in some different way, they don't need to rule over Palestinians. They don't. They don't. They can Palestinians and Israelis. They can offer guarantees and they can help ensure that it doesn't descend into violence. But this whole thing of like they need to be ruled over, I just don't quite buy it because I think violence is not some natural thing. I think violence is a result of state-based violence in the context of Palestine.
Well, and that's why you would. Well, I think that there would still be gangs, and I think that what I'm talking about is creating a system in which the local tendencies can be watched over by someone who doesn't share those same tendencies.
What tendencies?
The tendency, well, you would say if it's an Israeli, the tendency towards, honestly, in both cases, it would be the tendency to desire control over the whole of the territory.
What
in the same way that Ulster Scots and Irish have certain tendencies when speaking of Ulster, and in the same way that Russian settlers or just Russians and Ukrainians in eastern Ukraine have certain tendencies.
Okay, well, we've talked for quite a while, so I think I'll probably call it here. Thank you for coming up and providing what is different to a lot of conversations. I mean, I've never heard this one where it's kind of, I don't even know how to describe it, but it was interesting, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, that was certainly one of the more interesting conversations I've ever had, I will say. I don't know if there's anyone else coming up to debate. We don't have too long left. I'll answer some gifts. Hey, KR Trobs, thank you for the 200 NOK. Sending love from Norway. Love your work. My man, thank you for the 200 NOK. Harry R, stop sending weapons to Israel. These ones should be read together, though. Yeah, I did already answer your one, so thank you for the first of all, the $5 Australian dollars that said, ask this guy what this Hearts of Iron 4 mod is. Stop sending weapons to Israel, and then give THAAD to the colonized peoples instead of Israel. Great opinion. We need more THAADs in the Middle East. And then finally, Stuart159 donates £5 with the statement, Kawaii tanks only, no cranes please. Good idea. Kawaii tanks would be very helpful. It would be very helpful. They could solve the situation in Palestine. And someone else became a Prime member, JLEE67. Thank you so much for coming in. Not as entertaining as the ham hock guy, no, but not everyone can be as special as ham hock, gentlemen. Tendencies and Arabs are such dead giveaways. I don't really know how to describe it because I feel like most of you would think like the notion of the international community trying to unite and build a better world is like a good and positive thing. But I just don't know. It's kind of like the way of phrasing it of just like, what if Japanese people controlled Palestine or Germans and they had tanks? I don't know. It just sounds kind of weird and like saying you like the mandate system. I don't know. But maybe we should think about the proposition of kawaii tanks only. But thank you for the $2, Angel Shot, my guy. Alt history guy. Yeah. In front of my Hatsune Miku waifu tank. During the in 1948, David Ben-Gurion kept on claiming that the Egyptians had like swastika painted tanks. In the future, it'll be claims of kawaii painted tanks. Is there anyone that you'd like to debate formally? I'm working up to that, so we're going to be doing some of those hopefully in the future. I'm working on it. I've asked a lot of the pro-Israel debaters to do it. I've never asked Nick Mattel formally, but I think I'm going to. I just want a little bit of time, because I want to analyze a lot of the things he says, because so much of what he says is some of the most bizarre pro-Israel slop I've ever heard. Also, JP7, thank you for that groove guitar gifted. Mehdi Hassan, yes. My tank looks young, but it's actually a 5,000-year-old dragon. Who's David Starr? And yeah, I don't know about allowing Argentinians. The Argentinians put in power Javier Milei. So I would not let the Argentinians near Palestine. If they're putting in some Palestinian Milei guy, that is a bad idea. It's a very, very bad idea. Also, thank you for the beach something. I'm unsure. Well, goodness me. The tanks were promised to me 3,000 years ago. They were promised to Imperial Japan. Maybe the Iranians should do it. Explain why tendencies is a bad word, please. I find it useful. La boo-boo. Because it just kind of sounds like you're saying it's something innate. And what I was trying to get at with sect is, like, a lot of people talk about, like, Sunni and Shia sectarianism. But in many ways, that's just a cop-out by the government to complain when Shias get upset about mistreatment. So somewhere like, Bahrain, they're like, oh, the Shia sectarians. Or in Saudi, they say that kind of stuff. But it's not really true. And in, like, Israel and Palestine, I don't know how much it derives from, like, a tendency or, like, some kind of innate thing. I think it actually comes much more from a state that is violence. Takaichi, Trump, and NATO-oids are the only ones that can save Arab Bosnia. God, I wish Isaac was here. If Isaac was here, he could come in and say, like, nice things. Mr. Isaac, Mr. Zale of the Overzealots channel, where are you when I need you? When someone starts talking about, Bosnia, I have to ring up Isaac and be like, please, Isaac, there's no genocide. Well, McGuffey, you have your chance now to either come up and explain to me why you disagree with what these are saying, or I'm going to end the stream. But that's your choice and your prerogative. And thank you for the $5. You'll be going crazy. And again, I just thank you all for supporting the channel. It's incredibly kind and incredibly greatly appreciated. It's insane that so many of you give so kindly and comment so kindly and give your time. What does 0.1 even mean? No one knows. No one knows what 0.1 even means. Yeah. I also got a, yeah. You should dive into the Bosnian political system. Yeah, I mean, I think I probably should. I guess also somewhere like Iraq, it's not been great as well. Did you see Finkelstein on Hassan? Our boy was shaking the entire interview. I did see bits and pieces of it, not all of it. I mean, I would probably shake with Finkelstein because I don't know what you want to do. Like, I saw him call Trump an R-worded ape, and I was like, if Finkelstein was saying that around me, I'd probably be like, Mr. Finkelstein, no. Okay, right. If this is the final opportunity, you can come up and debate me, or you can go. I also have a reading list, Samad. You can come up and debate me one last time, or that's it, we're done. Pearl Harbor was one of Japan's better hits. Okay. That's an insane thing. I can't encourage that. Nothing can top that. What can top that? I will say it was an intriguing conversation of finding out what the beliefs are of people living in this world. Why do you hate McGuffey, you're just sort of saying like a slew of words now, and I'm not here for it. So let's cool it down, and you can have a little break, okay, McGuffey? Okay, right. That, unless there is someone requesting to join, final call out. You have 1 minute. By 4:02, that's it. Finkelstein was complaining about woke. Yeah. Interesting commentary. I feel like complaining about woke is insane. This is the last 30 seconds. Last chance. Roll call. Final call. Can I do like a bell? Okay, I don't know if I have a bell. Where's the soundboard? Where's my soundboard? I really also have to pee. Okay, I cannot do that. Okay, I can't do that. That is a goated one. Hello?
Hi, my name is Saul Weinstein, and
Okay, we're going to end that there. I think that's kind of a bit of an indictment of the TikTok today. All right, I'm going to end that there, and then I'm going to be live over on YouTube and Twitch. Search my name, Chris Kunzler, Chris K Live. We're going to cover some Western Sahara related Morocco stuff, watch some videos, have a bit of a chill stream. I'll see you all over there if you want to come. Guys, if you're on YouTube, just stay over there. I will be back. I'm just going to go pee. I have to go pee. Okay, guys, you won't see me for a second. You'll just see that, and I'll be back in a second. Please stay. I need you. Oh, my stomach. Ugh. I don't know why I'm in so much bloody pain. Oh, God. Oh, Okay, right. Let's hop back on. Video capture. Where's my video capture device? No, we need OBS Streambot. Oh, there I am. I'm stretching. Have any of us ever seen Chris's legs? Yeah, there's videos of me with my legs out. There's me interviewing Elan Pape and I got my legs out. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, God. I go for 1p on a stream after drinking like half a litre or a litre of water, and then you guys go mental and claim insane stuff about me and wicked lies and just tell me that I'm bad and that I'm sick and that I'm a baby, and I hate it. Okay, right. You know what we haven't done in a few days? Oh, fix your tank top. It's looking like a bikini. It's just too small. I just need a new tank top. Kidney stones. No, it's like up here, so it couldn't be a kidney stone. It couldn't be. It's a pulled muscle. I was sitting weirdly on a bench press earlier. I should have thought about it. Oh, that felt good. Azura Craig, do not recommend. Well, I'm not planning on getting kidney stones, but if I was, I thank you for the advice of telling me not to do that. You don't cath. We got the piss guy over here. Yeah, I love how I'm just being admonished for doing a little pee. Liver stones, lung stones. You know what we'll start with? Stone. I was going to say stones. Oh my god. Evade. I shouldn't have done that because it can't be the end, can it? Fuck. Libel? Maybe? Oh, God. I'm doing badly. I've not done this in a few days. Selly? It's not double L. Pel. Hempy? How is that a word? Wow. So it doesn't start with that. So it could be... No, so it probably has to start with P-E something L-Y? Or P-E something Y? It's not indigestion. No, it's a pulled muscle. It's a pulled muscle. It just really hurts all of a sudden. It wasn't earlier. I don't know what it is. Pearly? That's not a word. It has to have an A. Peloy? Oh my god. Yeah, it didn't start with a P, did it? Ha, fucking hell, that was dumb. Well, thank you for telling me the answer. I eventually got it. Hernia. Well, I hope it's not a hernia. I doubt it. You can't get a hernia this quickly, can you? Ah! Also, there's a cable that just gets in my way sometimes, and it prevents me from freely moving my chair. And when it happens, I go bloody mental. Okay. Okay. Yes, you can. I don't know what you're... I don't know what people are talking about. No, I don't think that's going to solve it. What are your tattoos? My tattoos are a bird in a cage, the cover of Blind Owl by Sadaq Hedayat, the cover of Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka on this side of my chest, a random flash on my arm, and then I have another random flash on my leg, which I'm not going to show because it's too much effort, and it would require me moving around too much. I refuse to accept that hempy is a word. I don't think it is. Also, no one has noticed, but I'm wearing different glasses today. I don't know if you can tell. I'm surprised no one commented as of yet, but these are different glasses. They just look exactly the same. Oh, you probably are right. Alley, lane, alley, byway, lane. Yeah. Street, would you say it was? No, you didn't say it was street. Mint Forest, Hunter, Bug Fix, Flyby? No. Backstreet, oh yeah. But Backstreet is back. Flyby? Hunter? Oh, wait, God. In Sync. Oh, Jesus. I thought it was funny. Selling out big glasses, I see. I know, no. I broke my other glasses. The thing that protects your nose, like the thing that goes on the sit on your nose thing fell off and they were really hurting my nose. Okay, bug fix. God, this is a fucking sucky one. Sage, mint, myrrh. I don't even know what gold, frankincense, and myrrh is the only thing I know it's from. Then I can't think of anything here. What is Nag Champa? What is Nag Champa? What the fuck is that? Nag Champa. Oh, okay. It's Nag Champa. Oh, what the fuck? Nag Champa, Sage, Tea set? I don't have any idea. Incense. Hempy means full of deviltry or roguish. Wow. Oh, mint, sage, forest. Yeah, these are kind of greens. They've done that before, though. They've done that before. Sage, forest. But what's the other green? Hunter green? Rhythm? I don't know. Hunter green, brilliant. Bug fix. Oh. In sync, rhythm, flyby. Bug fix, flyby, needless. Ah, Jesus. Nag Champa tea set, in sync. Is it something to do with India? Nag Champa tea set. Fix Champa S. All followed by Y vowels? Wait, which did you say? Oh, wait, it wasn't needless. It's this. Y is the only vowel. Oh, God. Oh, God. Starting with synonyms for pester. Bug, nag, needle, tea. What? Tea? What on earth does that mean? Tea? Ugh. I've never heard that. I've never heard that. To tee someone. Oh, you tee them off. Yeah. I do know that. Okay, guys. So I thought, this reminded me, someone mentioned that Kagito wanted to come on the podcast, but we were talking about the Western Sahara yesterday, and we could have like a chill stream and we could watch this and then cover some other stuff. Would you guys like that, to watch this? I feel like it would be kind of fun. I don't know. To watch Kagito's video if you don't fancy it. Oh my god, tease. Oh god, shut the hell up. Ow, ow, ow. Where I could stretch. Probably yeah. Yes. Okay. Cool. Just good morning, Chris from Texas. Just bought The Iron Cage by Rashid Khalidi. Thoughts on that book? I've never read it. It was in a bookshop the other day, but it was really expensive. He also did a stream about it yesterday. He mentioned that. I think I was going to tell Isaac that I would like to have him on the podcast, and I messaged him, and I'm sure Isaac will be okay with it. So maybe we'll have him on. I keep poking my Chris voodoo doll in the stomach.
Here, look at this. Zoom in here on Google Maps. You'll see a military base in the middle of the desert. Then another, and another, and another. If you keep scrolling, it doesn't stop.
From Morocco that created the world's longest mine.
The world's second largest wall after the Great Wall of China.
It is a vast sand wall that runs 2,700 kilometers across the desert. It is 7.
That is absolutely fucking insane. I didn't even know how large that is. And yeah, we talked about Ceuta yesterday. We talked about it yesterday. Volume up. Link to the vid. Of course. No, he's a little quiet for me. I can put him up. Sorry. Can I just get some affirmations about whether this is good or not? Okay, we'll put it up to 180.
17 times larger than the Berlin Wall and much, much deadlier. It's guarded by 130,000 soldiers, patrolled by Israeli drones, and surrounded by 9 million landmines, the densest minefield on Earth, and you've probably never seen it. The Kingdom of Morocco wants it to stay that way. The berm slices through Western Sahara, a place most maps can't even agree exists. Beneath its sands lie some of the world's richest deposits of phosphates, desperately needed to create fertilizer for the world's growing farms. Its fishing waters feed European markets. Its wind and sun power distant cities, all without the consent of the local people. 50 years ago, Spain promised the people here a vote to choose their future. Instead, this land was invaded. The vote never happened, and Western Sahara remains the last colony in Africa. Here's why.
Obviously, the reason we're watching this is exactly because of the Ceuta stuff. Like, it really does kind of make sense. Like, yesterday, some of you were like, oh, I wish people knew more about it. And I know watching a video isn't the sort of the best idea, but I was kind of just reading about it, and it just seemed like kind of interesting, and I'd like to, you know, do it on stream, and Kagito's a lovely guy, so I thought his video would be great to check out.
So, who are the people boxed in by this wall? Well, to understand that, we have to look back. These are the Swahili people, the indigenous people of Western Sahara. They are mostly Muslims and they speak the distinct Hassaniya dialect of Arabic, which is different than the Arabic spoken in Morocco. For thousands of years they lived as nomads, herding camels and goats between oases. They were vital middlemen in the vast trans-Saharan trade network. Then, in 1884, European powers met in Berlin to decide how to carve up the African continent between their colonial empires.
So who's the main theorist of writing this as settler colonialism? Settler colonialism in the Western Sahara JSTOR. The colonial plunder of the Western Sahara. This is probably, it sounds quite good. By Caught in the Fisher's Net. It develops analysis on the political economy of the Western Sahara. It does through the lens of its natural resources with a particular focus on the fisheries sector, bringing together contributions from different disciplines. Yeah, I mean, it does seem like something that I probably should know more about, but it's like when that guy starts talking to me about Bosnia. There's a lot to learn about the world, but I will hopefully.
Spain, with its Canary Islands just 100 kilometers away, claimed this area and named it Spanish Sahara. Spain, under the long-time dictatorship of Francisco Franco, crushed uprisings here in the 1930s and 50s, but the resistance kept resurfacing. In the 1970s, Mohamed Basiri, inspired by Gandhi, founded the peaceful Harakat Tahrir.
So wait, how many people actually live in the Western Sahara? Sahara population. So about 610,000 people. 611,000 people. Quite possibly more. I guess there's probably not great surveys of who's actually living there. But it is just kind of crazy. Do you know that all of this can be just solved by asking Japan to step in? They have to have tanks.
Tahrir movement to protest for independence. In June of 1970, thousands gathered in the city of El Ayoun at what became known as the Zimla Intifada. Spanish forces opened fire, massacring the protesters. They arrested Basiri and he was never seen again. Right, so around this time, the United Nations...
It is also kind of crazy because, you know, obviously there's like a bit of a desire to be like, oh, Sanchez has done good stuff on Palestine, he looks better. And he also naturalized a huge amount of refugees in his country, like hundreds and thousands of people there. And that's like a good thing, but then simultaneously his also behavior is just... Yeah, the behavior of like the behavior of Spain when it comes to its colonial legacy is fucking insane.
Nations was pushing for something called decolonization, which gave independence to dozens of countries in the middle of the 20th century. In 1963, they placed Spanish Sahara on the list of non-self-governing territories, which was essentially a euphemism for colony. The UN General Assembly passed resolution after resolution affirming the inalienable right of the people of the Sahara to self-determination. For Franco, the Sahara was too rich to give up. Spanish officials had seen that the amount of phosphates in the ground there could give the local population...
Why is it that Franco is just not... There's quite a few Spanish people in here. Why is it that Franco is not really remembered in the same way that Hitler is? Because his life was less... I mean, Hitler's obviously remembered because his life was so consequential, but... Franco feels like he's kind of forgotten, especially because considering that Spain was a Christian fascist nation for far longer than Germany was a Nazi nation. It just feels like he's kind of gone and forgotten, if you know what I mean.
Lives equal to that of some developed countries in Europe, and Spain wanted that wealth.
Its vast beds of phosphate make it the world's second biggest producer of fertilizer.
3 years after the Zemla massacre, a small band of Swahili insurgents attacked a Spanish outpost.
See you later, Tutu. See you later. I hate people who currently dick ride Sanchez and think he's so based, guy. Yeah, I feel like when you listen... They also had beef with Mexico over being unwilling to recognize their colonial past. I think because he didn't try to take over Europe, he's not forgotten by Spanish people. That is true, that is true. Tons and tons of propaganda, and... At the end, when he died in his bed, his regime was not prosecuted. They were only given a pardon. We are now suffering the consequences.
And they call themselves the Frente Popular para la Liberación de Sajía Alhambra y Río de Oro, or simply the Polisario Front. They were part of
That was some good pronunciation.
wave of armed anti-colonial movements that were sweeping the Third World, from Angola to Vietnam. The Polisario Front quickly gained the overwhelming support of the Swahili people. This was their liberation movement. By 1974, Franco was sick, Spain was facing UN pressure, and the Polisario Front's guerrilla attacks were taking a toll. And by the 70s, Spanish Sahara stood out as one of the last places on the African continent still under European colonial rule. Spain finally...
So Vox is what, just a Franco loyalist party then? I know that they're just like hard right, but I didn't know if they actually had like a strong relationship with them. Sanchez is socialist right now in Europe. I think that's why people like him. Yeah, but also he's not actually as strong. I've seen some people claiming that he's barely even done anything for Palestine, which in some ways is true. He's certainly taken a harder line than someone like Andy Ben-Gvir.
Gave in. They promised to organise an independence referendum for early 1975. Morocco, who gained independence from France in 1956, and Mauritania, who gained independence from France in 1960, objected. They believed that Western Sahara belonged to them, and they asked the International Court of Justice to make a ruling. Mauritania made their claim based on similar ethnicity, language, and...
Also, does Mauritania still have slavery? Is that true? Like, not even the kafala system. Doesn't it just have slavery? Is that wrong? Am I wrong about that? Or is that just insane? Technically, they're not Francoists. They like Primo de Rivera, but same fascist shit. Hammy Ben Gurion. Guys, give me 1 second as well. I'm just going to close my window because the wind keeps blowing it open and it's annoyed me. And plus I can get up and stretch. Oh. I think it was Sierra Leone that's had slavery. Okay. We know Chris is secretly sneaking off to listen to Boy George. That's why I have big headphones, so I can put my AirPods underneath and listen to Boy George instead of idiots talking.
Culture.
Boy George is Boy George Irish? He's the only Irishman I respect.
Morocco's claim, however, was different. When the French left Morocco in 1956, they left the Alawi dynasty in charge.
So, wait, sorry, actually, quickly. Apparently, de facto slavery continued in Mauritania back in 2010. While other countries in the region have people in slave-like conditions, the situation in Mauritania is unusually severe, according to Bruce Hall, who is a professor of African history and consists of largely black Mauritanians held by Arab masters. The Mauritanian government's official position is that slavery is totally finished. I'm sure I heard someone say, here's a Guardian article. For all the government's denials, slavery persists in Mauritania. I heard this somewhere, that Mauritania is a country that just does have slavery. And don't worry, I do know that Boy George is a Zionist. It's a joke.
As the monarchs of the country. The deal was that the Alawi kings would maintain French influence over banking, the military and business interests in the country, and the French would help the monarchy put down any left-wing or democratic uprisings. Uprisings and unrest in newly independent Morocco were quite frequent due to the poverty France had left there, and they had to be constantly crushed. Unlike its neighbour Algeria, Morocco had no oil to bankroll its economy. So the monarchy embraced an idea: Greater Morocco. This idea became popular in 1956 and was soon embraced by the monarchy. It claimed that Morocco's true pre-colonial territory included parts of Algeria, northern Mali, and all of Mauritania and West.
Wait, sorry, when you just came in and said, Casablanca Gal, when you just came in and said, are we talking about Greater Morocco? I thought you were fucking joking.
Western Sahara. The evidence for this claim is mostly dubious. It was based on certain tribal leaders at certain times over the centuries pledging loyalty to some Moroccan sultans. But the evidence didn't matter. These territories had something Morocco needed: resources. This myth of a lost great empire served two purposes. For ordinary Moroccans trapped in poverty, it gave them a kind of nationalist pride. For the Moroccan elites already drenched in wealth, it was a distraction to keep the anger on the streets pointed outward. In 1963, King Hassan II invaded Algeria using this theory. It failed, and relations with Algeria never recovered. One by one, Morocco...
Yeah, because this is what... So I read Chatham House had like an interesting piece about what's going on. And basically, it's, as I mentioned, that Brahim Ghali was treated... when he was treated in Spain, that caused issues. And they sent over 8,000 people into Ceuta. And Spain then changed their position on the Western Sahara. But then recently, the major advent is... hold on. Algiers. So... Okay, the latest situation has occurred because of a thaw in Spanish-Algerian relations. Sanchez was in Algiers on 20th of July, continuing the patient repair of a relationship that Algeria severed in 2022 because of Spain's adoption of Rabat's position on Western Sahara, so the adoption of the Moroccan capital. There were promises of another Spain-Algeria summit in the autumn. Sanchez has also discussed increasing gas supply through the Medgaz pipeline, which circumvents Morocco and runs directly through Algeria to Spain. Very interesting. But that's apparently what might have caused this.
Morocco dropped its claims on its neighbours, all except one, Western Sahara. After Spain announced it would hold an independence referendum, the UN sent a mission to Spanish Sahara to ask them what they actually wanted. It found the majority of the population within Spanish Sahara was manifestly in favour of independence. On the 16th of...
It's also so funny, by the way, how Israel's new claim to fame is being like the champion of indigenous peoples. The Israelis never found an example of settler colonialism that they did not like and support. They literally here agreed to something with Spain on the basis of... they agreed to something with Morocco on the basis of, yeah, you recognise our colonisation and we'll recognise yours.
October 1975, the International Court of Justice issued its opinion. They determined that the materials and information presented to it do not establish any tie of territorial sovereignty between the territory of Western Sahara and the Kingdom of Morocco or the Mauritanian entity. It concluded nothing Morocco presented overruled the right of the Swahili people to self-determination. So that should have been it. International law was pretty clear. The Swahili people were owed a vote on their independence. But then something strange happened.
In the sandy wastes of Spanish Sahara, Morocco's King Hassan had sent 350,000 of his people to stake a claim to this phosphate-rich desert.
King Hassan II refused to accept the ICJ's conclusion. Within hours of the ICJ...
That is a very interesting comment, and one I can't even read for fear of being demonetized, Easel Cat. Kunzler loves colonizing. That is a really interesting commentary. Thank you for that. That's why we're watching a video and I'm giving full-throated endorsement to the Moroccan colonization of the Western Sahara. In fact, I think it's brilliant.
ICJ's verdict, King Hassan announced he was organizing a Green March for the 6th of November 1975. 350,000 unarmed Moroccan civilians would cross into Western Sahara to liberate the land. The march, though, was simply theatre. A week earlier, Moroccan troops had crossed the border, occupying the posts that Spanish troops were abandoning and fighting the Polisario resistance. Hassan's timing was incredibly convenient. The day after Hassan announced the march, Francisco Franco fell into a coma. Spain was paralysed. Within days, Spain, Morocco and Mauritania had cut a deal. The Madrid Agreement. They carved up Western Sahara. Morocco got the north and Mauritania the south, and Spain got to withdraw with dignity and secured fishing rights and a share of future phosphate profits. This was an entirely illegal deal. No country in the world recognized it. Spain refused to hold a referendum. It illegally handed Western Sahara away to two other countries, abandoned its duty to decolonize the territory, and simply betrayed the Swahili people. By late 1975, Morocco and Mauritania's invasions were in full swing.
For control of 105,000 square miles of the cruelest desert on earth.
The guerrilla army is pitted against Morocco's modern armed forces.
Moroccan troops seized the Bokra phosphate mines and the largest city, El Ayoun. According to testimony before a US congressional subcommittee, the refugees who
Chris colonized my heart and settled there. An example of settler colonialism. Wow. That's beautiful words. Also, our king said that he would eat anyone who touched the march. Is that true? Eat them? Is that what you mean? Hi, chat. Hi, best chat, and thank you so much for the stream today. I just came home from physiotherapy, and I'm very tired, and it's so hot here, but I'm very happy to be with you. Thank you for being here. Lovely to see you and hear from you. Maybe they mean colorizing. Yeah, true. I love colorizing. But seriously, though, it is kind of funny. Like, the whole thing is Israel tries to portray itself as, like, this beautiful indigenous movement that's, you know, siding with people all over the world, and everyone just maligns it because it's just Jewish people reclaiming their land. But that's obviously not the case. That's obviously not the fucking case at all, is it?
were in Western Sahara at the end of January 1976 and the beginning of February through mid-February of 1976 were bombed, strafed and napalmed. There was a decided attempt by the Moroccan invading forces to eliminate these people.
The planes came to bomb us on a Sunday at 11 a.m. in February of 1976. Many people were killed. During the attack, women who were pregnant had miscarriages. The limbs of children were blown off. Some were burned like ashes. The first day, the planes came back 3 times to bomb us. They came back every day that week to bomb again and again.
Half the Swahili population became refugees.
Hey, thank you for the 2200, Thomas. The Sayutis are being used as straw people. How do you mean? How do you mean in that context? What do you mean? As in... But yeah, I mean, it's fucking crazy. I don't know. It's just this really bleak thing of just these never-ending war crimes and far too many to document throughout your lifetime, or even fully really grasp and understand. Like, I'm never going to have anywhere near the level of understanding as Palestine as I do something like that. As something as this as I do Palestine, because I simply do not have enough time in my life. Well, if I dedicated the rest of my life to it, but yeah.
Refugees overnight, as airstrikes drove tens of thousands on a grueling desert march towards Algeria. Moroccan troops deliberately killed livestock, destroyed homes and burned tents to make sure the refugees had nothing to return to. By the 27th...
Damn, it literally does sound exactly like Israel. Protesting is the key word, as a protest being used as an excuse for xenophobia. I love Moroccan people, but Western Sahara is clearly a blind spot for them. I mean, I feel like that. I feel like it's 100% of just like, so many people have these blind spots when it comes to things like Spanish people. You know, they have been, let's be real, Spain has been woker on Palestine than most people, but Spain obviously has a brutal colonial legacy, like undeniably, and still possessing these territories like Ceuta is a bit bizarre. And Melilla, is it Melilla? Melilla? I don't know how you say it, but yeah. And yeah, I guess the thing is it wasn't even just migrants, it was also just Moroccan people used as pawns.
February 1976, Spain had completely withdrawn. That same day, the Polisario declared the Swahili Arab Democratic Republic. The Polisario Front branded itself as a democratic, secular nationalist movement. They did genuinely build democratic systems
Melilla, thank you.
In the camps in Algeria. They elevated women to leadership roles.
Morocco wants to control and exploit our country and its wealth. But the Moroccans are convinced that as long as one Sahrawi is alive, they can't achieve this goal.
They freed black slaves held by nomads, and they promised to nationalize the phosphate mines when they got independence. They wanted to modernize traditional Swahili society and overcome tribalism as a form of social organization. Tens of thousands of refugees were settled at camps near the Algerian town of Tindouf. Algeria provided shelter, food and weapons, partly out of revolutionary solidarity. Algeria at the time was an international anti-colonial superstar that had won a popular revolution against the French. They were seen as champions of third world self-determination, and as one Moroccan official complained, Algeria had La Aura. This contrasted with
Sorry?
There's one more.
Is that was that Che Guevara with that was Fidel Castro with a camel, wasn't it?
They were seen as champions of third world self-determination, And
Yeah, that's Castro on a camel.
one Moroccan official complained,
Algerians had l'aura that provided them with credibility in the international forums. I mean, that is 100% true. Yes, they did have aura, and they were the center of revolution. I mean, so too was... I guess, like, the whole thing is so too did the Egyptians at that time, but that was actually earlier, to be fair. L'aura. As a Chilean, I can recognize post-colonial societies. Past or post? Which do you think is post? Like, as in Spain, or... Because Spain has some problems with its coloniality.
Algeria had La Aura. This contrasted with Morocco, whose conservative monarchy was France's last client king in North Africa. But
also, very funny that one of the things that Gamal Abdel Nasser used to just spend his time going on the radio and being like, I hate the evil monarchs. I hate the monarch in Jordan. I hate the Hashemite kingdom in Jordan. He's a puppet. He's just nothing more than a British puppet. That's what Nasser used to be up to. And now look at the Middle East. Sad.
Was another more strategic reason behind Algeria's support for the Polisario Front. They wanted to hurt their Moroccan rival. Libya under Gaddafi also armed the Polisario. Despite them being a left-wing nationalist movement, the USSR refused to support or arm the Polisario Front, probably because they relied on Moroccan phosphate imports. The UN said that they deplored Morocco's invasion.
By the way, also so funny, like this whole thing of just like how the Soviet Union just, you know, people act as if all of this stuff was just because of Soviet stooges. It's just nonsense. Like, there's clearly like an independent thing and decisions that are just different. Going for Algeria is the amount of dust covering the country. Do you just not like Algeria? Because I feel like people just going to start having an argument. What's going on? Do you just hate Algerians? What is this?
Asked for them to withdraw their troops, but France and the United States, who sit on the UN Security Council, used their veto power to stop all efforts in the UN to order Morocco to stop. A 1978 US government report acknowledged that US military interest in Morocco is to maintain a friendly government's control of the southern shore of the Strait of Gibraltar. Morocco has the world's largest phosphate reserves. Morocco's phosphate could be vital at the end of the century when most known US reserves may be depleted. The Americans...
You're my second favourite streamer while gaming. Also, thank you for educating us on important issues. Well, I'm educating myself right now. I'm sitting my white ass down and listening and learning about the Western Sahara. But Trainwreck, thank you for the 5 years, incredibly kind. Thank you for supporting the channel, my man.
Secretary of State Henry Kissinger knew of Hassan's plans to invade because the CIA had told him on the 3rd of October 1975, and he supposedly provided Hassan with a green light to attack. On November 10th, as Hassan was invading, Kissinger told President Ford, "If he doesn't get it, he is finished. We should now work to ensure he gets it. The hope is for a rigged UN vote." As the 1975 crisis...
By the way, it is just crazy listening to these words. Like, listening to these words of, we're going to rig the UN, and you're just like, yeah, you know, we have to pretend that people like Kissinger were interested in democracy. I did not know that Gamal Abdel Nasser opened the first radio for the Kurds. That's really interesting. Thank you for letting me know that.
Happening, the United States essentially told Spain they had to cut a deal with Morocco, and Kissinger told them that if they did, there would be a $1.5 billion arms package in it for them. You see, France and the United States were worried that without the monarchy, Morocco could become a popular republic, and they had a fear that a successful Sahrawi revolution might be contagious and may prove dangerous to US economic interests in the Middle East. Morocco's monarchy was already on shaky grounds. Hassan had massacred over 300 protesters during strikes in 1965, and there were 2 coup attempts against him in the 1970s to form a democratic republic. Poverty was widespread, and just 4 families controlled over a third of...
By the way, I saw you guys mentioning the chair, and I was like, I saw it in like the side of my eye. That is fucking insane. That is an unbelievable chair.
Morocco's economy. By liberating Spanish Sahara, Hassan was giving his people a nationalist cause, a distraction from poverty and corruption. He gave his restless and coup...
Once again, one thing I actually will say about all of this, about the, you know, about how we see the Middle East, there's some, and North Africa, excuse me, obviously Morocco's in North Africa, there's very often this desire to sort of believe that these authoritarian monarchies, like, entirely have the backing of their people, and that people just accept dictatorship. That is genuinely one of the dumbest Orientalist worldviews. It's like, that Oriental despotism nonsense. When there have been challenges, even the Gulf states, which are like, oh, we're so stable. Yeah.
Prone army a war to fight far away from Rabat. Following the US and apartheid South Africa's failed invasion of Angola.
Thoughts on Hassan Nasrallah? Or what do you want my thoughts on Hassan Nasrallah for? As a political commentator, guys, yeah, I'm funding a big chair. Jesus, politics.
In 1975, French intelligence, with Henry Kissinger's blessing, built a secret network called the Safari Club, whose main task was to protect Western interests in Africa and supply weapons to rebel groups and dictators.
By the way, so fucking crazy. This was built after Watergate, wasn't it? Watergate and scandals involving the CIA and international spying, things related to that. And so they just fobbed it off to intelligence services of dictatorships that they were friends with. One of them is the Shah of Iran, or Phil Leotardo, the Shah of Iran. So they fobbed it off to the Shah of Iran. And anyway, people love to act as if the West was against him or he was against the West.
It was made up of the US, Morocco, France, Saudi Arabia, Egypt and Iran, with some help from apartheid South Africa, Rhodesia and Israel. This group helped arm Islamist Mujahideen in Afghanistan and airlifted Moroccan troops on US planes to crush revolts against the US-backed dictator of Zaire in the late 1970s to protect European mining interests. Hassan had managed to make his rule vital to Western interests in the region and made the occupation of Western Sahara the pillar that propped up his monarchy. If Paris and Washington wanted Hassan secure, then Western Sahara had to be conquered. By the late 1970s, the Polisario Front was rapidly securing recognition from African states, and they had Mauritania on the back front. Even direct French...
Yeah, when you're talking about Iran in the context of Americans, it's the Shah of Iran. La Boubou. He compromised. Thank you, Thomas, for the 2,200 Chilean pesos. Who compromised? Are you talking about Ronald Reagan? The Reagan jump scare was fucking crazy as well. Why do you think I made that face? Like, what the fuck was he wearing?
Napalm strikes
was wearing jodhpurs
on Swaharis couldn't save Mauritania. By 1979, it surrendered, pulled out its troops, and recognized Western Sahara. Like in most guerrilla wars, the Polisario Front didn't actually have to win a decisive military victory. They just had to exhaust Morocco. To keep Hassan from losing, the United States and France poured billions worth of weapons into Morocco, mostly financed by the Saudis. The Saudi king...
By the way, it is also so crazy because whenever you pour weapons into a fucking country, all you end up doing is just making the dictator or the authoritarian never have to address the issues and kicking the can further down the road. Israel is such a perfect example of this. If you stopped pouring weapons into Israel and had made it act differently, the West could have literally got the two-state solution that they were fucking dreaming of.
Also did not want to see a monarchy lose to a popular revolution. Second only to Egypt, Morocco received more US aid during the Cold War than any other African country. Morocco was handed advanced weapons like Cobra gunships, F-5 jets, Mirage fighter aircraft, artillery, tanks, and a $200 million surveillance system. Between 1975 and 1988, Morocco indiscriminately bombed Swahili civilians with US-made cluster munitions. Bombs filled with tiny steel bomblets that scatter on impact, shredding everything in range, which is why they are illegal under international law. The American militarization of the Moroccan regime bound its army to American weapon systems, which guaranteed their dependence on the United States, and ensured that the monarchy would be too heavily armed for the civilian population to ever overthrow. Even with Saudi money, by 1977, Morocco was spending nearly a quarter of its income on the army. With the economy collapsing, the International Monetary Fund provided loans to rescue Morocco's highly authoritarian regime.
And yeah, of course, all of the Gulf monarchies do not want to see other monarchies collapse to popular revolutions for the very obvious reason of like, holy shit, if that happens and they start to actually provide something better for their people as a whole, it will create major issues for us as as authoritarian monarchies. It's why they were so obsessed with the uprisings in 2011, why they threw so much at ensuring that they didn't succeed, and why have they worked to undermine them. Like, go look at Egypt. The democracy in Egypt was collapsed in part by the United Arab Emirates. They funded that organization. What's it called? In Egypt, I forget its name. It was like some small organization. And by the way, there was frustration at Morsi. I'll never deny that. But go look at the UAE's level of interference and the protests that they fostered as pretext for a military coup that they'd been courting.
Regime which was actively engaged in state terror. In exchange for the loans, Morocco had to enact austerity and increase taxes.
I've never seen Casablanca. Is it propaganda? I don't know. It's probably not. I don't even know what it's about, mate. I think that there's like people. I just got jumped by 2 crackheads. What? What are you talking about? You okay? I don't know, I just feel like being an ultra-nationalist with the blindness of the suffering inflicted as a result of your own country is foolish.
The gutted average Moroccan living standards. The Sahrawi people were outnumbered. They were less than 500,000 against Morocco's 30 million people. The Polisario Front could field a few thousand fighters. King Hassan had over 100,000 US and French trained soldiers on the bottomless purses of Washington, Paris, Riyadh and the islands.
Tamarod, that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah. Tamarod, that's it. I mean, literally, one of the Gulf monarchies did almost fall to a popular revolution as well in 2011. Even Saudi Arabia had quite sizable protests in 2011, in the south predominantly.
But the Sahrawis knew the desert. They had lived there for generations. They were able to attack anywhere and then disappear back into the sand dunes. Their mobility was their greatest weapon, and so Morocco had to destroy it.
Guerrillas have regained control of 9/10 of the Western Sahara, even though they are outnumbered 10-1 by the Moroccan armed forces. Today, Morocco occupies only this small portion of the contested territory. To keep from losing it, the Moroccan army built a fortified defense wall around the entire area.
In the 1980s, with American, French and Israeli expertise, Morocco began to build something unprecedented, a giant wall of sand, connecting it to military outposts, stretching 2,700 kilometers across the desert, guarded by over 100,000 soldiers, backed by radar, trenches,
By the way, it is kind of crazy because quite often, people say like, oh, this is like, what is it they say, like Israel code? No, wait. What's that thing? Spiritually Israeli. I can't believe I just forgot the term spiritually Israeli. But like, this kind of stuff is just obviously standard colonial techniques that were actually honed quite heavily in Israel. But like, looking at this, it's hard not to be struck by the like similarities to Israel. I'm sorry to hear about your tree being cut down and the crows.
Wire and 9 million landmines. They called it the berm. It cost millions of dollars a day to maintain, but it strangled the Polisario. The berm split Western Sahara into 3 worlds: the Moroccan-occupied zone, the thin strip of desert held by the Polisario called the Free Zone, and the refugee camps in Tindouf, Algeria. In the Free Zone, around 40,000 people live traditional nomadic lives. Nearly 200,000 people live in the refugee camps, and the remaining 250,000 Sahrawi live under Moroccan occupation. The berm isolates Sahrawis. Those living in the camps in Algeria can't see their families on the other side of the wall. Nomads and their herds have to dodge mines, and it isn't uncommon to see Sahrawi missing limbs, as the landmines have claimed thousands of victims. With the wall.
By the way, also, I just want to say, if you're like an ultra-nationalist and you like love Morocco, right? Does this not make you feel like crying shame that a guy who's like, people who aren't white are inferior, who is surrounded by a bunch of like Nazi like white supremacists, is having a highway named after him by the King of Morocco? Does that not feel like kind of shameful? I don't know. Like, I'm genuinely asking, if you describe yourself as an ultra-nationalist, why would you like this? Why would you accept this? Why would you think that this is good? During the first the US recognized Morocco's claim over the disputed region as part of a deal whereby Morocco agreed to normalize relations with Israel. There was a clear sabotage running against Morsi. One obvious one was the shortage of car fuel across the country. It literally came back one day after Morsi was removed. I've never heard that claim. I do know that there was subversion, though, and it was intentional. I've never heard that claim. If you've got something to back that up, let me know. I would love to hear about it. It's interesting because you hear a lot of Egyptians who are like, nah, Morsi was Hitler and the Muslim Brotherhood were the worst thing ever. And I can know why a lot of people critique the Muslim Brotherhood, and I know Morsi wasn't perfect, but I don't know. I just think like it is still evident that they interfered.
All complete, Morocco conquered most of Western Sahara, but they could never defeat the Polisario without directly invading Algeria, so the war settled into a stalemate. In September of 1991, the UN and the African Union brokered a ceasefire and a simple deal. The 16-year-long war would end, and within a year, the UN would organise a referendum to let the Sahrawi people choose independence, integration into Morocco, or something else. To make it happen, the UN created a special mission, MINURSO, to organise a referendum. 30 years later, the referendum still hasn't been held. As the voter registry was being made, Morocco...
I mean, the very logic of Morsi is just better than Sisi. I don't think you should be ruled by dictators. I think that people should have a choice in what they want to rule them. People spoke in Egypt and they didn't want to be ruled by a dictator, and now they're under an even stronger dictatorship. In my experience, alt-nats don't give a shit about anything other than oppressing their minorities. It's so insane. I think you're kind of true. I think you're not wrong about that. It's true. They also manifested a power outage crisis when power went out for hours on end daily in the couple of months prior to the coup. I did not know that. Because the Sahrawi's are Amazigh, like Moroccans when they're not. They identify as Arabs. Well, even, I guess I don't know enough about that, but I'm sure that, I'm sure that what you're saying is true.
Flooded the territory with settlers and demanded that they be allowed to vote. This was in direct violation of the Geneva Conventions, which bans an occupying power from transferring its own population into occupied territory.
Also, sorry, was that person called That Casablanca Gal in reference to That Opinionated Girl? No, she wasn't called That Casablanca Girl. That would be crazy. Tomorrow I might take the day off streaming if there's not much news to edit up that video and get it out.
Settlers soon outnumbered the native population 3-1. By the early 2000s, the peace process had gone nowhere. In 2003, former US Secretary of State James Baker proposed a compromise. Western Sahara would enjoy 4 years of autonomy under Moroccan sovereignty, after which a referendum would be held. Even Moroccan settlers could vote. Polisario accepted, Morocco refused. You see, when King Hassan died in 1999, his son, Mohammed VI, inherited his throne, a $30 billion fortune, and a poor, corrupt, and authoritarian state. Morocco ranked near the bottom of the UN Development Index. Illiteracy stood at 50%. And even today, 70% of Moroccans under 30 want to leave the country, which leaves an obvious question. Why would people in Western Sahara, sitting on some of the richest resources in North Africa, want to join a state that even Moroccans were trying to flee? After several protests where settlers joined in with the native Sahrawi people against the Moroccan monarchy, Morocco began to worry that they couldn't trust their own settlers to vote against independence. In 2007, Morocco announced that they would never accept any referendum that included an option for independence. Instead, they proposed an autonomy plan that kept Western Sahara under permanent Moroccan.
By the way, this is so fucking... go look up Begin's autonomy plans for what the West Bank was. Fucking insane.
Sovereignty. And so the ceasefire allowed Morocco to entrench its occupation while the US and France protected it from any international pressure. The Sahrawi people never accepted the occupation of their homeland. Resistance towards Spain and then towards Morocco was constant. In 2010, a small group of Sahrawi families, angry at discrimination in jobs and housing, pitched their tents outside the city of El Ayoun. Those tents were a symbol of Sahrawi nomadic identity. Dozens soon turned into thousands. Within weeks, the camp swelled to 20.
I don't get it. Why you just wouldn't say and accept, yeah, you know what, people want some kind of independence or change, and you're just like, nah, I'm an ultra-nationalist and I fucking love this.
Thousand people. It became known as the Gadim Izzik Dignity Camp. The encampment demanded a fair share of Western Sahara's resources.
Oh no, they're doing peaceful protesting. Time to send in the fighter jets and bomb them. That's what my ultra-nationalism dictates I must do. Looking Hossam El Hamalawi. He is an Egyptian socialist scholar who have a book called Counter-Revolution in Egypt, Sisi's New Republic. I think I've read that. By the way. I think I've read some of that, mate. Unless it's really new. Oh, it is new. I've not read that. I read someone with, I might have read an article by him because I remember reading something with like a really new similar name, and I read a lot about Sisi's new authoritarianism. This is a really good video, by the way, Kagito's video.
Forces encircled the camp. They cut off food and water. They expelled foreign journalists. And then on the 27th of October, they murdered a 14-year-old boy. And then on the 8th of November 2010, they stormed the encampment.
They were saying nasty words. Yeah, down with Morocco. Thank you for the 2,200 Chilean pesos, Thomas. Yeah, you cannot say down with Morocco. I'm an ultra-nationalist. It's simple. The weak feel less powerless and oppressed when there is a minority they are superior to. 100% true. Just someone else to pretend is the issue for your problems. It's so much more simplistic as well to just be like, oh, it's these people who undermine us who are responsible for all the issues that face, rather than confront the traumatic fact of your government might be shit. So many people won't confront that, or your system might not be working, or in fact, more importantly, the system of colonialism won't work.
Firing live ammunition, torching tents and killing protesters. Swahili journalists who covered the event were arrested, tried in military courts, tortured into confessions and then sentenced to life in prison. Today in the occupied zone, supporting independence is a crime. Surveillance is constant. Forced disappearances are routine, and mass graves of Swahili.
Also, this once again, this, by the way, I don't think it really needs reiterating to any of you here, but like why I don't support interventionism is just straight up because my government and all Western governments who are saying like, yeah, we got to intervene in Iran because, I don't know, they're torturing and killing people, have no problem at all with this shit. They have actually zero problem. They actually kind of endorse and support shit like this. And it is fucking insane that that's the reality in which we live. That you just have to kind of put up with, oh, no. It's actually like it's not like that.
Saharis have been discovered near military bases and phosphate mines. Reporters Without Borders calls Western Sahara a desert for journalists. Stephen Zunes, who writes consistently about Western Sahara...
Oh, I know Stephen Zunes. I know this guy. Stephen Zunes is great on authoritarianism. I cited him in my dissertation. I always thought it was Zunes, though. I didn't know it was Stephen Zunes. But yeah, I'm familiar with this guy.
Calls it the...
Iran doesn't even do this stuff. Yeah, but Iran does meddle in other countries' politics, and Iran definitely has killed protesters and arrested opposition figures, you know. Like, they definitely have done that. But Zunes described it as the worst police state he's ever seen, which is kind of crazy. I'd like to read that.
The worst police state I've ever seen.
What you saw today is nothing compared to what we've witnessed over and over since 1975. But the news never gets out.
Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International have documented Moroccan security forces using...
Yeah, Iran probably is better when it comes to Kurds, but Baluchis don't know enough to even affirm that, but that's still like, I don't know, they're not particularly, it's not like great, like a lot of people write about the de-development of the region and the experience of being Kurdish in them, so I don't think, I think a lot of Kurdish people would quibble with that, but obviously, yeah, it's probably not as extreme as this. EU pays a lot of money to Libya and Tunisia to prevent migration. Yeah, when we spoke to Covey, she claimed that that money had even gone to the RSF previously.
Torture, beatings, detention without trial, and murder against the Swahili people. MINURSO, the UN peacekeeping mission in the region, is the only UN mission in the world without a mandate to monitor human rights. This is a situation maintained by France, who uses their veto power on the UN Security Council to block any changes to MINURSO's mandate. So torture, detention, and disappearances go unrecorded. In Western Sahara, Morocco has enforced a policy of Moroccanization. Settlement programs have brought hundreds of thousands of Moroccan settlers south, with the promise of higher salaries, subsidised food, housing, energy, guaranteed jobs, and tax breaks. Swahilis are now a minority in their own homeland. Moroccan Arabic and French are the official languages in Western Sahara rather than Hassaniya, which is the dialect of Arabic spoken by the Swahili, and a lack of education choices forces Swahili to go north to get a decent education. One Swahili noted that every day we become similar to Palestinians. Another said, "I don't have a future. As long as there is occupation, my fate will be the same as that of my grandfather and my uncle, to disappear." Settlers receive secure jobs while the Swahili face systemic poverty and police repression.
سحبني أفراد آخرين من الشرطة أرضا.
Sorry, you probably... No, I am at the top.
إلى أسفل الشارع حيث ثمة إطار مشتعل. دفعوني إلى داخله. لم يكن الأمر حدثا.
I mean, yes, it would. See, the funny thing is in settler colonialism, okay, Patrick Wolf problematized it, but he also got stuff wrong. He said, like, Algeria wasn't a settler colony because the French never went there to eliminate the Algerians. But the thing is there are, like, open plans by the French as they move there with, like, yeah, we need to kill all Algerians and replace them with freed slaves from the sub-Saharan slave trade because it will actually be better to do that because they're way more peaceful than Moroccans. And it's like, than Algerians. And it's like, I think they kind of did go there. But if you look at it as an attempt to eliminate a society, the actual society proposed by indigenous people, completely steamroll over the fact that there are any differences and replace it as like a fully Moroccan territory, then I feel like you could make that argument 100%.
كانوا يسعون لإظهار قوتهم.
Over 260,000 Swahilis have been displaced in the last 3 decades, with more than 20,000 arbitrary detentions, over 1,000 disappearances, and hundreds of deaths in custody, and over 120 documented murders. As one young Swahili put it, "All my dreams have been destroyed. Morocco killed them. I can only think of my friends who are imprisoned or killed. After university, I have 2 choices, to migrate abroad or to flee to the camps. They will never give me a job here." At first glance, this all looks like empty desert, but if you look at satellite images, you can see greenhouses rising out of the desert, ports packed with fishing ships, massive...
Yeah, is anyone clued up enough to know? China's involved in this shit, isn't it? Western African countries get almost no coverage in mainstream media. As a Brit, I have been taught almost nothing. 100%. But also, by the way, whenever we talk about this, because there are loads of like pro-Israel propagandists who love to be like really snide and be like, why do people care so much about Palestine? The amount of coverage that Palestine gets is in part through the internationalization of the cause and the fact that the international community was so deeply involved in the creation of this issue. But then again, actually, perhaps that's not a good excuse because of this. I think it's the Palestinian cause was very good at internationalizing it. Very, very, very good. Especially in the 70s and such.
Solar and wind farms, and the world's largest conveyor belt stretching for kilometers across the desert to connect this massive phosphate mine.
No, the reason I assume China was involved is because there's a huge amount of solar panels and green energy.
To ports to export. This land is rich. Morocco extracts phosphates, fish, tomato, solar and wind energy. Even Western Sahara's sand is sold off to replenish tourist beaches.
Holy shit, did you guys know this? That the illegal sand trade is the second biggest... The illegal sand trade is the biggest illegal sand trade is the second biggest illegal sand trade is like the second biggest criminal trade in the world. I think it's after like drugs, maybe. Look at this. Apparently it pulls in between $200 and $350 billion a year of selling off just cheap, like stolen sand from places. There are sand mafias as well. So they operate in Algeria, Brazil, Colombia, the Gambia, Ghana, India, Kenya, Mexico, Morocco, and Nigeria. The illegal sand trade is absolutely massive. I swear I've mentioned this on stream before. So I think that the fact is that it's the second biggest illegal trade in the world. It's so huge. I think it also comes a lot from rivers and stuff, because that's where you're not allowed it. And yeah, you're actually right that racism definitely plays a part. Great. Now I have to side-eye the sand at the garden center. Yeah, I know. It's fucking crazy. It's fucking crazy. I hadn't heard of this until it was randomly on ones and twos one day. Adam 2's sand trade. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Wait, read this one. So this is from 2020. Why does the desert kingdom of Saudi Arabia import sand from Australia? Because desert sand grains are too small, too round, and too smooth to be much use for construction. You might as so well make bricks out of icing sugar. Sinews of war trade. Oh my goodness. Politics theory other. Getting up in Adam 2's business, tweeting this kind of stuff out. Sand theft is a worldwide phenomenon. Seriously, guys, you need to get on your sand trade business. Guys, I'm making a sand trade business of stealing sand. Sand is used for construction, basically. Too much sand was taken from the Yangtze River, prompting the Chinese government to ban sand mining. However, sand smugglers continue to take sand. They evaded capture by hacking and cloning the automatic tracking systems of other ships, leading to multiple collisions. Construction sand is rare. Crazy. Is it because it comes from rivers, right, that they steal the sand from? Or maybe for some reason Morocco has, the Western Sahara has great sand? Who should I sell it to? I want in. Well, I'm looking to buy some sand on the cheap. We'll work out some sanctions evasion.
The Canary Islands. All of it is taken without the consent of the Swahili people and with little benefit to them. Let's start with the phosphates. Western Sahara sits on some of the richest deposits of phosphates in the world. A massive treasure for the tiny Swahili population. A treasure that's only set to increase as growing populations in Asia and Africa will demand more and more fertilizer. The Bokram mine alone holds an estimated 500 million tons of phosphate, which today is mined and shipped off to buyers from India to New Zealand. In 2002, Morocco exported 1.23 million tons of Swahili phosphates, valued at 655 million.
Because this was a big problem with the... This was a big problem with the Iran war, wasn't it? The Iran war has constituted this major issue around phosphates that aren't getting through and out of the Strait of Hormuz. And imagine they can't get through the Red Sea, which would be just awful. I just want to see if I can find the right video I'm looking for. There was a Adam 2's one where he talked about sand recently. The war in Sudan, Adam 2's on the global energy crisis, Tiananmen Square, enduring impacts of the Iran war, China's 5-year plan, makes sense of Trump's economy, Kevin Walsh, K-shaped economy. Yes, here it is. Hold on, we're gonna... Let's have a look, hold on.
And that reminds me how I was reading about how there is an enormous global illegal sand trade. And the sand trade, first of all, its extent kind of blew my mind. It's apparently in the range of $200 to $350 billion annually. It's estimated as being, and from what I can tell, it involves essentially stealing sand from beaches and selling it on elsewhere. And I'm curious how exactly this illegal sand trade works, and to what extent are beaches being undermined by this?
So, I mean, it is a truly staggering number. I mean, those figures appear to originate in one particular academic study. I don't know how well supported they are, but if you take that at face value, it's the third largest illegal trade. So after the smuggling of goods at $1 trillion and drug smuggling at $500 to $600 billion, the smuggling of sand would come in third place. So ahead of people smuggling and everything else.
That is a fucking crazy statistic, that people are smuggling sand and making more money from it than people.
The other crimes you've ever thought of. So it's staggering. I mean, setting aside the criminal element, it's just worth contemplating the scale of sand as a business, because it's apparently, again, these numbers are so bizarre that one kind of wonders. People claim that it's overwhelmingly the largest, most mined thing in the world. Like, there's more sand mined than anything else. And you kind of think, why would that, how could that conceivably be? Well, the answer is that in the basic construction materials of modernity, sand is the major component, right? Cement, concrete concrete is largely made up of sand with glue tying it together. And so when you think...
It feels so dumb to think, or way too simplistic, that concrete is just sand and glue mixed together.
About the amount of concrete that has been laid and the amount of landfill that has been put down with, you've got rocks and then you've got sand backing those up, you begin to get a sense of just the awesome scale of this. The figures say 32 to 50 billion tons of sand and gravel excavated every year. So, then you begin to think, okay, well, around the edges of that, you could easily see how this would take on absolutely gigantic proportions.
Also, by the way, guys, if any of you are interested in learning a bit more, this comes from Ones and Twos, the beach episode. It's about Taiwan's economic surge. We won't listen to the whole thing of him talking about sand. We'll finish this video. I just want to say, I don't think I'm going to stream tomorrow because I'm noticing I'm flagging a bit, and I only took one day off last week because the other day I was off. I was doing the podcast with Isaac. So taking a day off wouldn't be that insane. I think it's actually probably for the best. So I'll take tomorrow off and do some editing, but I'll be back on Wednesday.
The profits don't stay here. They flow towards the king, Moroccan elites, and French companies in the north. Morocco now controls 7...
But I will say, this video has made me incredibly interested. I need to get... You guys have to be my eyes and ears on the ground. One of you needs to find out about the illegal Moroccan sand trade right fucking now. I need you deep in that stuff. I need one of you to go and do gonzo journalism and tell me all about the Moroccan sand trade.
72% of global phosphate reserves. China in second place controls just 6%. International law is fairly clear on this. In 2002, the UN ruled that exploiting resources here without the consent of the local population was illegal. Courts in Europe and Africa have said the same thing, but Morocco and its partners ignore these rulings, and the European Union is perhaps the worst offender. The waters off Western Sahara are some of the richest fishing grounds in the world. The European Union has consistently signed deals with Morocco that treat those waters as Moroccan, and so Swahili fish is sold on the cheap to the EU market, even when the EU's own courts say that these deals are illegal.
I'm really glad to hear that the UK is not getting illegal fish from Morocco. But it is also crazy, by the way. In Europe, the thing that everyone complains about right now, actually, it's in the UK, okay? So traditionally, when you go to a fish and chip shop in the UK, you get cod or haddock, but they actually just lie and they now sell you what they call whitefish, which is like catfish and stuff, and that's what people complain about here. Next episode will be on big sand. Yeah, Isaac's getting really interested in sand.
2022, nearly 3/4 of Morocco's coastal catch came from Swahili waters. In 2024, 129,000 tons of fish products from Western Sahara entered the European Union, valued at $504 million. The European Union continues to fund settler housing, ports, and fish freezing halls in occupied territory. Rows of Moroccan-owned greenhouses filled with tomatoes, melons, and blueberries, all grown with water pumped from scarce underground aquifers, taking desperately needed water from Swahili herders. The profits are extracted by Moroccan elites and French companies. Workers are imported from Morocco, and supermarkets...
Once again, sorry, I just want to reiterate this shit about someone who was like, I'm an ultra-nationalist and I love this. Do you really think that this money is going to the average Moroccan? Tons of Moroccans just tried to leave to go to Spain. Like, I'm sorry, it's pretty evident that these monarchies are not run for or by the people. If you're a nationalist, why you would ever endorse a policy that harms an average person like you living in another country? Which, by the way, I'm a believer in that we're all connected wherever we're from, and we're not as different as people like to make out. But if these are people who are living a tiny distance from you, you are undeniably connected to them, okay? And the fact that you would say is like, I'm a Moroccan ultra-nationalist and I love what is happening in the Western Sahara, and it's like, your people are still poor. How is this any form of like nationalism, you know? Like, how is this any form of nationalism? Like, not to say that if the money was being extracted and given to the populace at large beneficially, that would change anything. Obviously, colonialism extracted huge amounts of wealth, which to this day benefits, Britain as a society, and not to dismiss that. But what I'm trying to say is, like, as a nationalist, like, how does that make sense at all? Like, this money being extracted, all that sand's probably being illegally smuggled, and there are people creaming the top of it, but yeah.
The Carrefour lie to their customers as they falsely label these goods as Moroccan. Because of their trade deals, Morocco can sell these goods with lower tariffs in the European Union, which undercut European farmers. Because the greenhouses here grow crops with less worker regulations, less chemical regulations, and less environmental regulations.
Preach, a social communist. I was talking to Isaac. By the way, the no war, no peace policy, no war, no peace policy, it was Trotsky who put it forward, right? No war, no peace, where they just stop negotiating with, they refuse to fight or negotiate. One of the most insane things that I thought of ever being cooked up, just stopping negotiating and just stopping fighting. I mean, it's a good idea. You shouldn't be fighting. But, like, simultaneously, my God.
And, of course, without the consent of the local population.
I paused it. That is such a risk to take, to just be like, in the middle of a war, we're not fighting, we're not negotiating, we're done. Like, if Germany hadn't lost, whew.
In 2024, Morocco overtook Spain as the EU's second largest tomato supplier. Morocco has no oil. It has always been dependent on Algeria and Spain for energy imports. It dreams of energy independence through renewables. By 2030, half of Morocco's wind and 30% of its solar power will come from occupied Western Sahara. These projects, built by foreign giants like Siemens and Engie, are advertised as green development, but remove all mention of Western Sahara from their marketing. If you look closer, these projects...
By the way, just thinking about this, it is so obvious that this is the case, because every time you go to a supermarket in the UK, it's like, this is Moroccan produce, I almost called it, but it's produce here. We say produce, not produce. I'm not a fucking American. But yeah, you see so much of this just Moroccan stuff in British supermarkets or English supermarkets. I don't know about the rest of Britain. Khomeini's quote was more interesting, to be honest. Khomeini's poison chalice quote. I always wondered, because Khomeini's poison chalice speech. Is there a video? Does anyone know if there's actually a video of the poison chalice by Khomeini? Because I've never heard him say it, but I've heard of its existence, and I looked for the video. Well, it's a give and take, but obviously I don't agree with most of this. My father is a Moroccan diplomat. Well, I just mean it was like you were kind of giving strong opinions about, like, they just kind of sounded like in the same way that, like, Israelis, kind of say, like, we have a right to do these things because it's our land and this and that. By the way, did you actually know that Judea and Samaria isn't even what they're describing? Hello, Trove.
Rarely help the local Swahili population. Instead, they power...
No, I think people can change their opinions. I do think people can change. So if you're willing to change and think about what you're saying, fair enough.
The phosphate mines, and they send electricity north to Morocco and Europe. These energy exports make Morocco, Europe, and West Africa dependent on energy generated in occupied Western Sahara. A leaked document showed that Morocco thought implicating Russia in the Sahara could guarantee a freeze on the Sahara file within the UN. So far, no oil or gas have been discovered in Western Sahara, although 2 illegal oil exploration licenses have been sold to foreign companies. both Israeli. Meanwhile, majority Swahari areas remain in darkness, plagued by blackouts and dry taps. But as one Swahari noted, you can guarantee settlers still have their showers. The monarchy hands out contracts to exploit Western Sahara to generals and security forces. Top generals earn millions per year from fishing contracts that employ mostly settlers.
Yeah, Mahdi, I know it was on TV or that it exists, but I've never been able to find him saying it. Video of Khomeini poison chalice speech. Wait. No, I don't think it exists. It's probably, maybe it's lost media. That's the lost media that people need to get involved in finding it.
Ensures their loyalty to the king and makes it so they will do anything in their power to maintain the occupation. The Swahari living in the camps are entirely cut off from those in the occupied territories. Many refugees have been stranded there for over 40 years.
In the camps, 50% of the population is under 15.
The camps sit on arid desert where temperatures can reach 50 degrees Celsius in the summer and drop below freezing during the night.
En este medio ambiente, en esta vida que es difícil, problemas de agua, problemas de alimentación, hay un problema de alimentación, hay anemia, hay desnutrición.
According to UNICEF, 55% of children under the age of 5 suffer from anemia.
لكن المؤسف عنه يخلق هون ويموت هون. كيف ما خلق الجيل نحن يخلق هون ويموت هون. في انتظار شيء المجتمع الدولي ما هو متعاون عليه ولا هو حقيقة مشكلة.
Children in the camps in Algeria dream of canned sardines, while Morocco sells millions of tons of fish caught in Swahari waters to Europeans. For decades, the Swahari were left to rot as the UN, US and France maintained a ceasefire that benefited Morocco. In November of 2020, Swahari protesters blocked a road here. This was a road Morocco had built illegally in a buffer zone. This road allowed Morocco to export to West Africa. Military presence here was banned under the ceasefire. Despite that, Moroccan troops entered the buffer zone and opened fire on the protesters. After 29 years, the Polisario Front declared the truce over. Guerrilla attacks resumed along the berm, and Morocco answered with air and drone strikes, resulting in scores of Swahari civilian deaths. To this day, no new ceasefire has been implemented. A month after these clashes broke out, in December of 2020, under Donald Trump...
Also, you mentioned that Siemens is involved in Israel. So is Carrefour, isn't it?
The United States became the first country in the world to recognize Morocco's annexation of Western Sahara, in return for Morocco's normalization of relations with Israel under the Abraham Accords. Morocco now pays Israel tens of millions of dollars for attack and surveillance drones tested on Palestinians. Israeli Pegasus spyware turned Swahari and even Moroccan phones into surveillance tools. Israeli drones now...
By the way, I genuinely do not think that it can be underestimated how important Pegasus is. Like, Pegasus is such a dangerous spyware that can literally be in your phone and you don't even fucking know it.
Patrol the berm, killing not just Swaharis, but Mauritanians who wander too close. In 2023, Israel became the second country to recognize Morocco's annexation of Western Sahara. One by one, European states fell in line. In March of 2020, Spain openly sided with Morocco and endorsed its 2007 autonomy plan. The Netherlands followed, then Britain, and in 2024, Emmanuel Macron declared that Western Sahara's present and future lie within Moroccan sovereignty. For half a century, the United Nations has managed a stalemate that only benefits Morocco. The solution on paper is fairly simple: a free and open referendum supervised by the UN where the Swahari people can choose independence, integration with Morocco, or something else. International law on this is extremely clear. Western Sahara remains a non-self-governing territory, Africa's last colony. Until a referendum is held, Morocco's attempts to conquer and settle Western Sahara violate the Geneva Conventions. But Western Sahara stands out as an example of what happens when international law is on your side, but you don't choose the path of total war. The world just ignores you. The real lesson of the Berm is that might makes right, especially when the global superpowers are on your side. No people should be stripped of their land, their resources, and their right to decide their future. The Swahilis built a government, they cooperated with the UN, they waited peacefully for decades. That makes Western Sahara more than just a question of one people's fate. It is a test of the international order that claims to rest on law, equal rights, and self-determination. The United States and the United Nations essentially wrote the rules. The Sahrawi followed them, and they were betrayed. So what is left of the international order if those the law is meant to protect are abandoned? If Africa's last colony cannot be freed, then the Berm is more than just a barrier. It is a tombstone for international law. When law becomes mere suggestion, what's left is raw power, the kind that answers to no one. If you want to see where that leads, just look at Uday Hussein, eldest son of Saddam Hussein. He began his public career when Saddam appointed him as head of Iraq's Olympic Committee and Football Association. Under his rule, Iraqi athletes that lost were tortured. Uday spent decades living a life of luxury with pet lions and gold-plated assault rifles, while committing torture and murder with a smile. I can't even mention most of what he did on YouTube, but you can go learn the entire insane story in Mad Kings, a gripping true crime meets geopolitics series from real life lore about the most unhinged rulers of the modern era. Episode 1 is...
Wait, have we just met the best man on the Nebula left? Kagito. A Tabernacle, you must issue a serious apology right now.
Horrifying story of Uday Hussein. The editing is top notch, the stories are fascinating, and it's the perfect lens for understanding how, when institutions are weak, one man's whim can become law, and sometimes that man is absolutely demented. My analytics tell me that my viewers also love Modern Conflicts, a series that investigates serious subjects that will be censored anywhere else. Pair that.
I'll finish this here because this seems to just be, the rest of it is just an ad for Nebula, but go check out Kagito if you haven't. He's a great guy who makes great videos. It's fantastic. And that video was fantastic. I'm sure that many of these others are fantastic. I really enjoyed that though. No, Cav just always talks about the Nebula left. I gotta go. Thanks for the stream today. Thank you for being here. I'm sorry it's not my best. I think it just, I'm a little bit pooped from streaming recently. But yeah, I thought that was a great thing to watch. On that note, there's a couple of things I want to show. First of all, have any of you seen this video? The Israeli settler has produced, just when you thought they couldn't surprise you, I want to show you this video, which some of you have probably seen. This guy. Well, also, Kagito speaks out a lot about Palestine, so check this out.
I don't go to the Palestinian people and burn the houses of Palestinians.
But that's exactly what happened on Friday.
Yes.
6 houses in Salah.
But it's revenge.
We're inside the Israeli outpost.
It's really good to hear, hashtag listen to indigenous local voices. It's really nice to hear from what the Israelis have to say about, Palestinians and innocent people who've got their homes burned down. They certainly are saying nice things.
Of Hevat Gilad. I can see caravans, sheds, simple block housing spread over several hills in both directions here. This outpost is very close to a number of Palestinian villages. The nearest one is less than a mile away, and many of those Palestinian villages have reported settler attacks over the past week. This has happened.
Oh, that's the revenge part is probably the sanest part of this statement. You have to keep on watching. Listen to what he says in a second.
And after a security guard from here in Hevat Gilad was shot dead by a Palestinian man in a confrontation.
Oh shit, also, by the way, sorry. The other thing about this is, I don't know if any of you heard this, Plus972 did video analysis, which I'm not going to show because it is a video of someone dying and being murdered, and I don't want to show it, but they think what it looks like is the Palestinian guy who disarmed the settler did not kill those people. When he was killed, the gun wasn't with him, so they couldn't find the gun. They found it somewhere else. So people think that actually settlers may have shot the other settlers, and this Palestinian guy who had 3 of his other family members killed may have literally just disarmed an Israeli settler and been killed as a result of it.
Nearby, 4 Palestinians and another Israeli man were also killed in that confrontation.
I think now, after they kill 1 Israeli people, we need to kill all the people in Tel and Sarah, even Jit and Farata. Why? Because we don't want it to happen again.
It sounds like you're saying...
This guy is an Israeli lawyer. He will not be... By the way, this guy 100% is an Israeli lawyer. That is not an exaggeration. His name is, as you just saw, his name is Yehuda Shimon. This guy is a lawyer. In any other country, you would be disbarred for saying something like this. In Israel, you're probably given a promotion to be the #1 lawyer inside of Israel.
One Jewish life is worth hundreds or thousands of Palestinian lives.
Not million. 1 Jewish life, it's 10 million, okay?
That just sounds...
By the way, the concept of memory TV, which is meant to sit out there and audit, like, you know, what Palestinians and Arabs are saying in the media, the fact that it doesn't include Israel is kind of funny because obviously Israel is not really a Middle Eastern state. Yeah, the majority of the population are actually people who historically came from the Middle East, but Israel was always billed to be a European-style nation state. But listening to someone like this, it does kind of just make clear that the beliefs that people say are problematic on the Palestinian side are like just openly stated in Israeli society, and, you know, you get to actually act on them. Where you believe that 1 Jewish life is equivalent to about 1 million Palestinians.
Racist.
Yes, I know. I know, but this is the truth. Because God chose us. Because of this, you are jealous.
These inflammatory views rejected...
I think that they should have kept talking to him for far longer than just a minute, like 30, 40 seconds. I want to hear what this guy has to say about the world.
By many Israelis are crucial to understanding the growing violence in the West Bank, which many extremist Israeli settlers see as land given to them by God.
The Bible is the authorizing that this land belongs to us. Okay?
Israel occupied it militarily.
Yes,
and under international law, that means that no civilian settlements can be built here.
But the God not write in the Bible the international law.
So you're a lawyer,
yeah,
and you're saying the only law that really counts for you is the Bible.
Yeah, of course.
Also, once again, it makes it so evident that all of this shit, okay, about how like people are instituting Sharia law because they're Muslims. What do you think halakha law is? Like, what do you think halakha law is? By the way, this isn't ending. We're going to do a bit of an audit on Israeli settlers. I think this lady was on the BBC as well. Hold on. Let me just check. So this lady, I'm pretty sure she was on the BBC. Settlers.
It's Saturday morning.
I think this is the same lady. I can't quite tell. They look kind of similar, but I guess we'll kind of see as the video develops. We'll see what these settlers are up to.
שני זוגות צעירים שעושים היסטוריה. הם הקימו חווה בעלת חשיבות אסטרטגית עצומה בשטח B, ועכשיו גם בית קפה מושקע כדי שכולנו נוכל להגיע ולהיות חלק מההתיישבות.
It is her. It is the same lady. It is truly just unbelievable what these people are up to. And by the way, anyone who says, well, you know, they're just excesses, they're just people who are like not like the rest of the state of Israel. Come on, look what this lady's up to. Look what this lady's up to. Thomas says the only good engine is a dead one energy. I mean, yeah, the whole thing is what makes... I guess I didn't aptly describe it, but the whole thing with the frontier is like, effectively, this is just a space of total lawlessness. Like, Israelis do whatever they want to Palestinians. It is just a total space of lawlessness. It is fucking insane.
החלוצית בארץ ישראל. התרגשתי לגלות עד כמה המקום מושקע ומוקפד עד לפרטים הקטנים, והאוכל טעים, טרי ואיכותי, ואתם יודעים כמה אני אוהבת אוכל.
Imagine taking your family on like a day out to a settlement to eat indigenous Israeli pizza.
טוב, הוא הפך למוקד של עלייה על הרגל ולא סתם, מאוד מאוד קל להגיע או קרוב ליישוב עפרה, וזה פשוט שליחות להיות כאן, אז בואו להיות חלק מההתרחבות של ארץ ישראל, ותכלס איפה תוכלו לשבת מתחת לעץ זית וליהנות מהאוכל הנדיר הזה מחברה של אנשים קסומים, קפה בהר של חוות האורנית.
I actually cannot imagine a worse place. If you're talking about a place to go and enjoy under an olive tree, this is perhaps the only place, or one of the few places in the world, that has a beautiful setting, beautiful food, and you could not think of a worse place in the world to be, which is just surrounded by people who genuinely believe that, like, Palestinian life is not even worth 1/1,000,000th of a singular Jewish life.
פתוח בימי חמישי ושישי, בואו תעקבו, תהיו בקשר, עם ישראל חי. מדובר פה בשני זוגות.
And also just filming your kids. Also, how much is that? 62... That's actually kind of expensive. So some of the stuff here, which I don't know what it is 62 shekels. 45 shekels is £11. They're paying the same price as living in the UK, which is crazy. To go and live in Palestinian land. Between liberal Zionists and right-wing Zionists is their honesty. They both want the same, just one just openly says what must be done to achieve it. Like, what do people think is an Israeli settlement? Also, by the way, that's completely wrong. Isn't this what Hila did? Went to some Gazan beach and ate watermelon and pizza shit or some shit. No. What Hila did actually was she served in the Israeli military, but like she didn't do it this bad for the settlers, you know. She was just on the ground, kind of laying the groundworks and helping the occupation of Palestinian land. That's what you kind of don't really get, that she was doing something kind of different. That's, I don't know if you don't understand or something. She actually was like only there helping the settlers, 20 years ago. But yeah, she did actually go to some beach. I don't know where the beach was. I don't know. No idea. I don't know if it's near Gaza. I have no idea. But yeah, we'll stick on this topic of settler insanity because, by the way, they are just completely out of control. So this is a great title for a country that we should be supporting or pretending is in any way normal, that has a civilian army who the majority of participate in protecting this kind of stuff. Okay, Israeli soldiers point guns at paramedics taking pregnant woman to hospital. Oh, that sounds normal.
In the West Bank, the state of Israel is tightening its grip in the places where Palestinians live their lives. Roads are shut, barriers erected, 5 military battalions redeployed after a surge of violence sparked by Israeli settlers. Yet the Palestinians are suffering the consequences. The ambulance in this small Palestinian village is driven by Bashar al-Kayuti. Last Monday, he picked up a woman who was 6 months pregnant.
The fact that Zionists are just like also showing you, okay, they show you like Farfur the mouse and stuff, and they're like, oh my god, look how radicalized Palestinians are. Like, this is a lawyer in Israel who is giving his explanation about why you should kill 1 million Palestinians.
She was bleeding and in terrible pain. She needed urgent medical attention. But their route to the hospital was blocked by Israeli checkpoints, like this one near Nablus. The medics were forced to sit and wait at the roadside. The incident caught on the vehicle's cameras. But if they tried another route, they risked attacks and further delays.
حاولنا في كل الطرق إن نوصل للمستشفيات، وصلنا البوابات أطلقوا علينا الرصاص، وصلنا بوابات أخرى كمان المستوطنين لحقوا يكسرونا عند البوابات بدهم مش حتى ننقل المصاب لمصاب.
They had to wait for 10 minutes before the ambulance was permitted to advance, and we see the soldiers approach.
Like, it is incredible. The fact that people try and draw any comparison between Palestinians and Israelis is actually one of the most insane things imaginable. Palestinians can't do this to Israelis, whereas Israelis do this type of shit to Palestinians every single day. In the in Gaza and Lebanon, they blow up ambulances, so they also do it to Lebanese people. They attack them. In the West Bank, oh no, it's different because they just hold them up whilst there are pregnant women at risk of death in the ambulances because, I don't know, they want to.
The vehicle, one with his rifle drawn. They open the door, see the pregnant woman and her nurse, and demand IDs. Then they tell the driver to shut off the engine. When the soldiers ordered Mr. Al-Qayuti to...
Can you imagine losing your baby as well? And the only reason you lost your baby, okay, is because of some settlers saying, oh yeah, you shouldn't, some Israeli settlers saying you can't go to hospital because you're not the right ethnicity. And there are people who act like, oh, it's complex and try and defend this shit. It is mental. People who call themselves leftists. And you look at the denial of basic human dignity.
Switch off the engine, he had to stop the oxygen and he had to turn off the monitors in the ambulance. And the crew were already running out of fluids, but they couldn't move. They were stuck here on the edge of the city, and soon they had to make an impossible decision. Did they try to save the life of the mother, or did they try to save the life of the child? That decision was made at the checkpoint, the nurse telling Al-Qayuti she must deliver the baby to save the mother's life. Another 10 minutes pass before the soldiers let them through.
بدي أسوي شيء عشان أنقذ الحياة اللي معي. صرخت على الجنود بدهم يطخوني.
Like, imagine... I've seen a lot of discourse on Twitter about, like, Lonabox saying he was brave for going to the West Bank. First of all, it's not bravery. It's you can go because you're largely like you do Israeli propaganda on the internet. Israel will be fine with you coming, you know. You're not someone who's, like, highly critical of the state of Israel. Maybe they'll hold you and detain you a bit longer because you actually have some, like, Lebanese heritage. But you're not brave for going. It's that literally most people who would go who talk about Palestine would probably be turned down and they would not be allowed to enter. But the other thing is how can you go and see this with your own eyes and still pretend that this is complicated? Like, as a leftist, watching this shit that is happening, watching this shit of what is done to Palestinians in ways that, you know, a singular day of violence could never be compared to, and then sitting there and explaining, well, actually, all these groups are evil and they bear such a responsibility, and people demonize Israel wrongly on the internet. People do not demonize Israel enough because people focus specifically on spectacular violence and not this, this benign, unbelievable cruelty that is just on a day-to-day basis. Benign is not the correct term, but this monotonous cruelty that happens every single day because people were born the wrong ethnicity.
حتى المسعفة الممرضة اللي كانت معي كمان تسعف في المريضة وكمان يعني سلط عليها السلاح. الجندي وقف هون وحط السلاح في راسها.
They pass an extraordinary queue, thousands of people trapped inside Nablus before they reach the main hospital. Doctors confirmed their arrival shortly before 8 a.m. The life of the pregnant woman was saved. The baby was placed in a box. In response to our findings, the Israeli military denied the incident took place. Spokesperson told us the claim that IDF soldiers delayed an ambulance at the Al-Warda checkpoint.
But what I mean is, like, how can you sit there and tell me that, like, when a Palestinian carries out an attack that, you know, the majority of Palestinians did not participate in, versus an Israeli who does this, that is literally just the entire point of their army and structure, which is just harassing, degrading, and targeting Palestinian people, has any comparison at all. It is not normal to talk like that.
point is false, adding no such report regarding such an incident was received from the Palestinian side. But this is...
Like, I watched some of Lonabox's response to the Professor Dave video, and he was basically like, well, the beheaded babies thing is a lie because the Israeli government said that it wasn't true instantaneously. But the thing is Israeli propagandists said that for days, for months, and to this day you will find people who make that claim. Biden claimed he'd seen photographs, which then, oh yeah, the White House walked back. Biden said that. Biden said that. Why you would quibble with someone over that is unbelievable. That was a narrative spread by Israeli propagandists. It's just unbelievable to me. I don't know.
Clearly contradicted by the video.
And also, by the way, anyone who's like, oh, we need to listen to what the Israelis say about what they're striking. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? They're denying something that Sky News has imagery of.
Evidence from the ambulance crew, and the director of the Rafidia hospital and the doctor who treated the woman in question told us delays like these dramatically increase the chances of complications and death. The draconian restriction.
I don't want to show this in case it shows the killing, so...
Attacks by settlers are rising in frequency, while Palestinians are feeling increasingly afraid. In the village of Kusra, the brand new mosque has been torched and dubbed in graffiti. And we found the mayor inside trying to put the pieces back together.
شعور يعني باليأس بالإحباط شعور بعنصرية من قبل الجانب الآخر هذا مسجد.
Like, I am sorry, when you're talking about the Palestinian context, what you should be talking about is the restraint of these people. The fact that the majority of the people in the West Bank do absolutely nothing and can't do anything because the Israelis will just fucking kill them and destroy their homes. They sit here and deal with shit like this of their homes being blown up, bombed down, and then the Israelis are like, yeah, we're going to elect Gadi Eisenkot, who created the Dahir Doctrine and is like disproportionately targeting civilians is cool because, I don't know, Israeli security or some bullshit. Can I up the audio? Yeah, I can.
حر في صلاتك سواء كنت مسيحي أو يهودي أو مسلم هذا حرية هين ما بتركوا الحرية للناس في العبادة.
Here we see the brothers who paid for the mosque, a building they named for their mother. But they told us they haven't got the money to repair it.
La Boubou.
The
A lie can go around the world. No, but you don't understand. Biden just made a slip and they retracted it. Thank you for the 2,200 Chilean pesos, Thomas.
The Israeli government says it's increasing security in the West Bank to combat terrorism. But it's also enabling the settlers as they invade.
By the way, this is also the circular logic of Zionism, okay? This is their genocidal circular logic. They build more settlements, and then they kill people, and then when some of their people get killed, they go, well, we have to defend ourselves. We need security because the Palestinians and the Arab neighbors are so crazy that they just want to kill us for absolutely no reason. It's like this never-ending circular logic of just justifying just shit of killing people, taking their land and oppressing them.
And occupy more land. And the Palestinians seem powerless to stop it. John Sparks.
It's just... before truth can get its trousers on. 100%. And by the way, the whole point of that lie was to just demonize Palestinians as barbarous savages. Barbarous savages. That's the whole point of all of that. Western nations think that third world nations should react to violence in the way they know they would react to violence. 100%. 100% as well. Palestinians live under something that you cannot even imagine. Especially if you're white. You have no imagination. And even then, if you are like a black person living in America, not to dismiss persecution that, like, you know, non-white people and minorities face in American society, but simultaneously, there is no comparison with what the average Palestinian in the West Bank experiences.
Right, let's head live.
This is the Palestinian foreign minister addressing the media. I know that she's probably PA affiliated.
To Ramallah now, where the Palestinian foreign minister is holding a media briefing to address Israeli...
The Palestinian Authority can't even arrest settlers. They can't even arrest settlers. Like, what is this? You can't arrest a settler?
settler violence in the occupied West Bank.
Obviously, I have a very different opinion on Hamas because they're designated a terror organization by my government, and of course I condemn them. But in the context of talking about Palestine, it's obvious that the Israelis are the far larger and far more sizable criminal organization here. By the way, you just mentioned the thing of like Hamas allegedly playing football with body parts of people. That was repeated by Blinken much later on. Blinken made up a total lie about a family who were like killed whilst they were eating dinner and were like cut up, which it does not seem there's any truth to. I'll see if I can find it, the Blinken clip.
Including, and if you'll...
So this is what Blinken said. I'm not going to repeat it, but you can see it. It's him talking to Susan Collins. He said that a family had their eyes, breasts, feet, and fingers cut off.
Welcome to the burger ride.
While Hamas had a meal to justify US support for what would become a 2.5-year genocide. That's on November the 1st, 2023. Someone said, on what grounds are you claiming this to be false? Someone mentioned that at Kibbutz Be'eri there was no example of any of this happening. Oh, Fit TT, thank you for the gifted membership. Oh, Radical Caffeine, enjoy the membership, my man.
Let's take a listen.
What we are witnessing is a deliberate and systematic use of Israeli settler terrorism as an instrument of entrenching this unlawful occupation and colonial settlement enterprise. If we look at settler terrorism, we see that it spares no area. I mean, I just picked several areas and the list can go on and on. If you look at Jalut, Taibeh, Deir Dibwan, Mas'udiyya, Beit Imrin, Susia, Deir Jrir, Masafer Yatta, Til, Beit Furik, Beta, Atuf.
It's hard to think, I'm sorry, but like, where is the protest movement inside of Israel about what they do to Palestinians? People will be like, where's the protest movement from Hamas? Or like Palestinians in Gaza. First of all, there were some protests. I think people definitely overplayed them. But inside of Israel, the amount of people protesting about a far more prolonged, brutal, barbaric campaign of torture, displacement, ethnic cleansing, crimes against humanity towards the Palestinians is minuscule. And when you're talking about elections, go look at the electoral reaction. There's no left surging in Israel. There wasn't a left prior to October the 7th. Netanyahu won before October the 7th. So you can't even be like, well, things changed after October the 7th. The last time they elected someone who wasn't Netanyahu, it was a guy who said, I've killed many Arabs in my life, and that's a good thing. Or something to that effect.
راس الأحمر خربة حلاوة المغير حوارة عصيرة الشمالية بوريم قصرة قريوط قراوة بني حسن many others. It's everywhere. It's from the north to the south of the West Bank, sparing no village, no city, no town. The atrocities committed in Til on July 24, like those before it, and probably like the ones that will come in the future, are not isolated incidents. They are part of this systematic campaign of terror aimed at driving us away and out from our land and facilitating Israel's illegal settlement and expansion and the annexation of the whole of the West Bank. Over the past 3 years, settler terrorism has undergone a dangerous transformation.
Also, like, if you believe that Israel is just this normal state that's like normal inside of the 48 borders, why does it not just bring in Palestinians if it's so normal and they're so good at living next to them? The contrast is insane. You're too loud compared to the background. I'm sorry, it's hard because I don't know what's going on with the audio. It's because I'm doing so many different things. I'll try my best. Thank you. Sorry, I'm struggling with this. I really am. It's hard. The audio. You just have to let me know. But thank you for letting me know.
I mean, we've had settler terrorism before. But there is this dangerous transformation. It has become more organized, more coordinated, more heavily armed, and more destructive. Armed settlers and militias today operate openly and across the occupied Palestinian territory under the protection of the Israeli forces or in direct support of those forces. Across the occupied territory, Israeli settler militias are killing us, inflicting torture, including sexual violence, burning homes, attacking places of worship, destroying livelihoods, and forcing entire communities from their land. Today, we should always say that occupation no longer merely tolerates settler terrorism. It increasingly relies on it. It's not just, you know, a group here and there, a number here and there, like Netanyahu boasts.
I know. I'm trying to fix this. I'm trying to fix the audio stuff. You need a proper mixer, Chris. What do I? Yeah, I do. Isaac was telling me I need it. Maybe I should just buy one and sort this out because people are complaining about it. But yeah, I mean, she's right. Like, of course, this is the case. I think Menachem Begin said to Labour, "I won't just wink at the settlers like you do."
It's only 100 settlers that are doing all this havoc. No, it is an organized terror on which the occupation increasingly relies. What we are witnessing is not a failure of law enforcement, but the progressive institutionalization of settler terrorism as an instrument of Israel's occupation and territorial expansion and annexation. But let us be very clear. International humanitarian law clearly says that Israel, as the occupier...
I'm glad to hear that you like the podcast. I'm glad to hear that you like it. That's what I'm doing in about 10. I'll probably have to go after this video. Also, yeah, we'll take care of it after the stream. Don't worry, Chief. Yeah. I know. I need to change things. I know I do.
Occupying power bears the primary legal responsibility for the safety and protection of every Palestinian civilian living under its occupation. And we all know that this is very far from what is actually being carried out. That obligation requires Israel not only to refrain from harming the protected population, but also to prevent, suppress, investigate, and punish violence or terror committed by Israeli settlers. But Israel instead has chosen to arm, protect, and empower settler militias and guarantees them impunity. Now, when the occupying power protects attackers instead of the protected population, these crimes of the settlers cannot be dismissed as private measures by settlers or as private acts of violence. They engage the responsibility of the occupying power itself, the state.
Yeah, I am using a different I'm using the Roda interface, like this thing that tells me like, oh, here's your port mic USB. I can get a high pass filter, but it's just trying to equalize the two of these things. It's hard.
As an occupier is responsible.
All right, for more on this, you've been listening to the Palestinian Foreign Minister.
I mean, everything she's saying is just 100. Yeah. Guys, on that note, I better dash because I got to call Isaac. I don't think I'll be live tomorrow unless there's any sort of major news or anything to that effect. We didn't really cover Iran war stuff, but it's kind of standard. I chose to do the West Bank because, yeah, I just feel like it's, I don't know, it's just atrocious right now. I thank you for everyone who became members, donated, chatted, watched, all of this stuff. I just better run and chat to Isaac. So I'll see you all soon. Thank you all so much. Yeah, thank you. See you soon.